Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Snoozy Scientist, where we wander gently through the deepest mysteries of our planet, one sleepy yawn at a time. Whether you're listening from your bed, wrapped in quiet blankets, or drifting through that gentle space where thoughts begin to blur, this calm spot has been made specially for you. A gentle space where curiosity and science sit side by side to help you relax. Tonight, we're not traveling back into a distant, forgotten era. Instead, we're stepping sideways into a hidden doorway beneath the waves of our modern world. Down there, in the quiet dark, live creatures whose stories began long before ours. Some of the oldest surviving animals there appeared hundreds of millions of years before the first trees, before the rustle of insects filled the air, before any vertebrate ever placed a footprint on land. These beings endured the planet's greatest catastrophes, the Great Dying that erased nearly all marine life, the asteroid that ended the dinosaurs, and the long global icehouse periods when oceans froze and thawed through ages of silence. And somehow they remained. Their existence raises questions that feel larger than science alone. How does a creature stay almost unchanged while everything else transforms around it? What traits make certain species so resilient that even mass extinctions cannot erase them? And what does it truly mean to share our planet with beings older than the continents beneath our feet? Tonight, we drift slowly into that world, into the deep places where time moves differently and ancient survivors glide through water older than memory. But before we sink too far, I just want to take a moment to appreciate every one of you who have been drifting off to these videos, liking them, and leaving thoughtful notes in the comments. Your support is what allows this little corner of calm to keep growing. Thank you. And if you feel like it, tell me where you're listening from tonight and what time it is there. It's always a joy to see how far these sleepy stories drift across the world. So now, take a deep breath in, let it out slowly, and together, let's drift into the deep, the realm of the ancient sea monsters still alive today. Far below the shifting skin of the surface, the ocean keeps a steadier rhythm. The world above can change in ways that are sudden and dramatic. Ice ages come and go. Continents drift and crack apart. Entire forests rise, flourish, and collapse into dust. Yet the vast water below often moves at a slower pace. Temperatures hold steady for centuries. Light fades only gradually. Currents shift like the breath of a sleeping planet. Life here has learned to grow with patience rather than urgency. When we listen closely to the ocean's story, we notice something remarkable. Many of the oldest lineages in the world still live where the sea is calmest, not necessarily calm to the eye, but calm in the deeper sense. The deeper waters are shielded from the chaos that erupts above. Storms may churn the surface, but only a whisper of that movement reaches the silent depths. Even the seasons, which rule the land so strictly, become gentler as the water darkens. That softness creates a refuge for ancient life. And so the ocean becomes a library of memory. Every layer tells a chapter of the Earth's past. The surface reminds us that the world is always changing. The middle waters carry histories of shifting currents and migrations, but the deepest layers hold the oldest memories of all, preserved in darkness and pressure. Down there, a creature can keep the same shape for millions of years because there is no urgent reason to change. Evolution itself follows two paths. One path moves quickly on land and in the bright surface currents. Inside these fast lanes, competition is fierce, and conditions shift in the span of a single lifetime. Plants race for light, animals adapt to new predators, and climate swings push species to transform or vanish. This fast evolution can create dazzling diversity, but it also sweeps many creatures into extinction when they can no longer keep up. The ocean's slow lanes tell a different story. Here, evolution is not pushed by frantic change. It moves with the patience of water dripping on stone. Creatures do not need to reinvent their bodies again and again. A shape that once worked continues to work, sometimes for an unimaginable span of time. A jaw, a fin, a shell, a simple spine. These forms become ancient truths written into the fabric of biology. They do not need to hurry. They do not need to race. There is another force that helps preserve these ancient lines: isolation. The deeper a creature lives, the more alone its world becomes. The sun disappears. The seafloor stretches into vast plains where centuries can pass without disturbance. There are no forests to be burned, no droughts to wither the landscape, no sudden floods. Hunger moves slowly. Predators drift in silence. The water muffles the noise of history. In this quiet isolation, species can survive even when the earth above them shakes with catastrophe. When a mountain range rises, when a supercontinent splits apart, when an asteroid brings devastation, the deep sea absorbs the shock gently. The creatures that live there are sheltered from many of the violent changes that erase life elsewhere. They are not untouched, but they are protected in ways that are almost poetic. The ocean wraps them in cold darkness, as if holding them safe in an ancient cradle. Isolation also slows the spread of danger. On land, diseases and predators move quickly across open territory. In the shallow seas, warming waters or pollution can travel far. But in the deepest layers, life is separated by distance and darkness. A single valley on the seafloor can host a lineage that never meets another. In that stillness, evolution becomes a careful sculptor. It preserves what is already strong and useful rather than rewriting it. When we picture these ancient survivors, it can be tempting to imagine that they live in perfect stillness. But the ocean is not truly unchanging. It is shaped by slow currents, hidden volcanoes, and the drifting of continents. Yet its changes happen at a pace that leaves room for life to adapt gradually. A creature has time to find balance, to fine-tune its body, to merge with its environment. Some scientists describe this as a steady environment. Others see it as the most ancient classroom of evolution. The deep sea teaches that survival does not always belong to the fastest or the strongest. Sometimes it belongs to the patient, to the creatures that know how to wait. And so the ocean becomes a home for memory, a place where ancestral shapes persist and where the past and present overlap. It is possible to swim beside a creature whose lineage began before the first forests rose on land, a creature that once shared the earth with early trilobites, a creature that has watched entire worlds appear and disappear above. Even the water itself carries those memories. As it circulates through the world, it holds minerals from ancient rocks, whispers from volcanoes that erupted when the earth was still young, and tiny remains of organisms that lived and died long before humans ever existed. Every drop is a fragment of the planet's long story. In the deep ocean, life moves at the pace of geological time. The sea remembers, it protects, it shelters the old, and allows them to continue. And while the world changes above, the ancient survivors glide through waters that feel almost eternal, preserved by the patience of the depths. Far to the north, where the ocean begins to stiffen into cold sheets of drifting ice, a slow shadow moves beneath the surface. It passes through water that few creatures dare to visit for long. The temperature remains so cold that it would stop the heart of most animals. Yet here, in this freezing darkness, lives one of the oldest vertebrates on the planet, the Greenland shark, a creature whose lifespan can stretch for 3 or 4 or even 5 centuries, possibly more. Time for it is not measured in years, but in eras. The shark drifts like an ancient thought, It does not rush. Each movement seems to take place half a heartbeat later than one would expect, as if the ocean around it were thick with memory. The cold slows every process in its body. Its heart beats with a patience that seems impossible. Its blood moves like a winter current. Its cells divide at a pace that no other known vertebrate can match. Scientists studying these sharks once believed their age to be remarkable. They now understand that remarkable does not quite capture it. Greenland sharks can live for longer than 3 centuries. Some individuals are believed to have begun their lives when the world looked very different, long before electricity, long before major cities rose and fell, long before empires were carved and broken across distant lands. A Greenland shark may glide beneath the Arctic ice for more than half a millennium, carrying the story of the ocean inside it. The shark's skin tells part of that story. Slightly rough, slightly scarred. Light does not reach far into the depths where it swims, so it grows slowly and carefully. Its flesh holds chemical traces of the waters it has traveled through. Its eyes carry a clouded haze that grows with age, like frost forming on glass. Scientists once used radiocarbon from ancient nuclear testing to estimate its age, and the results suggested lifespans that few living things can rival. This extraordinary age is not a mystery without clues. The shark's life unfolds in waters so cold that metabolism slows to a near whisper. The temperature of these northern seas is often just above freezing. Many fish that travel through these waters for only a moment must burn immense energy to survive. The Greenland shark does not. The cold becomes part of its biology. Cold slows the heart. Cold slows the conversion of food into energy. Cold preserves the body like a natural vault. Its cells replicate at a slower pace, and this may be the secret to its longevity. Aging in many creatures is partly shaped by how often cells divide and replace themselves. A creature that burns quickly often burns out sooner. The Greenland shark follows the slower path. It feeds on fish and carrion in the deep. It eats when the opportunity appears. It does not seem to fight against time. Instead, it drifts within it, moving at the same steady rhythm as the ocean itself. Researchers have studied the shark's genetic material, looking for answers in the twists of its ancient DNA. They examine genes linked to cell repair, metabolism, and resilience to extreme cold. The shark's DNA carries hints of a lineage that has adapted not by racing forward, but by slowing down. It has found a balance that lets it grow older than any other vertebrate known to science. Even reproduction follows the rhythm of patience. Greenland sharks take many decades to reach maturity. Some estimates suggest that a female may not be fully grown until she reaches an age that humans rarely see. This slow development is risky in an environment where life is unpredictable, yet it has worked for this species across the long sweep of time. The shark does not need to outcompete fast predators. It does not need to chase prey at great speed. It thrives in the deep cold, where few creatures venture for long. Its world is shaped by silence. There are no coral forests or sunlit shallows here, only the glow of distant plankton, only the quiet touch of the seabed, only the dark where pressure rises and life slows to a different tempo. The Greenland shark navigates these waters with a sense of ancient calm. Its body is built for endurance rather than speed. It does not fight the cold. It accepts it and becomes part of it. As centuries pass, the shark remains. Generations of humans rise and fall. Empires expand and crumble. Coastlines shift and reshape. Yet in the deep Arctic waters, the Greenland shark continues its slow, careful path through time. The ocean's deep memory holds it, just as it holds the stories of the earth itself. And within that memory swims one of the oldest creatures alive, moving gently through the centuries, older than almost every kingdom ever built on land. Far beneath the surface where daylight fades and blue turns to deeper shades of silence, There moves a creature that does not seem to belong to the world we know. Its shape is ancient. Its presence feels like a memory of another time. This creature is the coelacanth, a living ghost from the early chapters of Earth's history, a fish that first appeared when the world was still young, when forests were only beginning to rise on land, and when the ancestors of amphibians were taking their earliest steps toward the shores. For millions of years, the coelacanth swam through shallow seas and ancient coastlines. Fossils tell us of a fish with a strange and elegant body, one that seemed to bridge the ocean and the land. The coelacanth's paired fins do not sweep like the fins of the fish we know today. They stand on jointed, limb-like stalks that move in slow coordinated patterns. They resemble the early limbs that would one day become legs on dry ground. Scientists believe that the coelacanth's body represents one of the earliest experiments in the story of vertebrates, a shape that hints at the transition from water to land. Then the coelacanth vanished, not in a sudden catastrophe, but in the gradual shifting of deep time. For 66 million years, no living coelacanth was ever seen by human eyes. Its fossils appeared in ancient rock. Its bones were traced in the layers of vanished shorelines. Paleontologists studied them and placed the coelacanth among the great and extinct animals of Earth's past. They believed it was gone forever, a creature that belonged to the age of dinosaurs, a symbol of a world that no longer existed. For generation after generation, the coelacanth existed only in stone. The Earth continued its long story above and around it. Continents drifted into new forms. Mountains rose. Oceans changed their shape and temperature. Ancient species disappeared. Entire ecosystems flourished and then faded away. Humans arrived and began to tell stories of their own. Yet every fossil spoke of a creature that had once been real, a fish that seemed to be caught between worlds. And then, in the year 1938, something extraordinary happened. Off the coast of South Africa, a group of fishermen brought in a large and unusual catch. The fish was blue-gray, with white speckles like starlight reflected on water. Its body was muscular and heavy. Its fins moved like the measured steps of a slow dancer. When the specimen was brought to the attention of scientists, disbelief rippled through the world of biology. The coelacanth was alive. The rediscovery of the coelacanth was not just a scientific surprise. It was a reminder of how much of the ocean remains hidden and how deeply the past can sleep beneath the surface. Newspapers called the fish a living fossil. Scientists traveled across oceans to study it. The coelacanth became one of the most mysterious creatures known to modern science. When researchers began to examine its body in detail, they found something even more remarkable than its survival. The coelacanth's basic anatomy had changed very little over the vast stretches of time. Its skull has unique hinged joints that help it swallow prey in the deep. Its fins are supported by bones arranged like rudimentary limbs. Its spine is made of a hollow tube filled with oil, and inside its body is a vestigial organ known as the rostral organ, a structure believed to help the fish sense movement and perhaps even electromagnetic fields in the water. Why did the coelacanth remain so similar to its ancient ancestors while so many other species transformed around it? The answer may lie in the quiet world it inhabits. Coelacanths live deep beneath the waves, far from sunlight, far from the fast-changing environments that push evolution at a rapid pace. Down there, the water is cool and still. The currents move with the slow rhythm of the earth itself. The ocean bottom offers caves and overhangs where the fish can rest and drift without struggle. In this deep refuge, the coelacanth's ancient design continued to work. It did not need to change quickly. It did not need to race against predators or chase prey through bright surface waters. Its slow, deliberate movements became an advantage. Its body found balance with the deep ocean, where silence and darkness rule. The Coelacanth's story shows us a different way that life can survive, not through constant reinvention, but through stability, through a body that found harmony with its environment so early in Earth's history that it never needed to be replaced. When its fossils were first discovered, they seemed like messages from a world long gone. The rediscovery proved that sometimes the past does not disappear, it simply waits in the deep, where time moves in a slower circle. The Coelacanth remains one of the most mysterious shadows in the ocean, a reminder that ancient shapes can endure, and that the sea still holds secrets that link the present to the earliest chapters of life on Earth. In waters that rarely see the touch of sunlight, a different kind of predator drifts quietly through the deep. Its body moves like a ribbon of dusk. Its presence feels older than most of the creatures that share these depths. The frilled shark is often called a relic of ancient seas, and when one appears on camera, there is something unmistakably primordial about it. Its shape does not follow the sleek design we expect from modern sharks. Instead, it carries the architecture of a body that has worked for tens of millions of years. Along its throat are 6 pairs of gill slits with wide fringed edges that bend like delicate frills. These folds give the shark its name. They form a pattern not seen in most of its modern relatives. Its head is long and narrow, with a jaw that stretches farther back than seems possible. The jaw is not hinged in the familiar shape of a great white or a hammerhead. It extends with a graceful curve, lined with rows of delicate needle teeth. Scientists have counted more than 300 tiny, backward-facing points, arranged in multiple rows. Each tooth is shaped like a small hook. If a fish or squid is drawn into that mouth, it has little chance of escaping. This jaw design has remained almost unchanged for a vast span of time. Fossils from ancient oceans show nearly the same silhouette, the same slender skull, the same frilled throat, the same rows of teeth curved like tiny fishing hooks. While other sharks adapted and changed, growing stronger tails or faster bodies, the frilled shark stayed close to its original form. Its anatomy was already suited to the world it lived in. There was no need to become something new at every turn of evolution. The frilled shark's world is the deep, not the bright surface waters where sunlight shines and currents flow like rivers. The frilled shark lives hundreds of meters below, in cold and quiet zones where the pressure is great and movement is slow. It slips through canyons along the ocean floor and waits near underwater slopes where prey may drift near. Many deep-sea creatures hunt in this slow and careful way. They do not rush or chase. They conserve their energy and rely on patience. The frilled shark uses a technique known as ambush predation. It drifts in place, almost motionless, and waits for a fish or a squid to wander close. Its long, snake-like body can coil and bend. When the moment comes, it strikes with a sudden burst of motion. Its jaws swing open, and the teeth create a trap. The backward-facing hooks catch the prey and pull it deeper into the mouth. This strategy is well suited for life where food is scarce. The shark does not need to race or sprint. It uses stealth instead. The deep ocean honors this slow method of survival. The frilled shark does not need to change its body or its hunting style. The environment has remained stable enough for the old design to continue working. Because the frilled shark lives far beneath the surface, humans almost never see it. Centuries could pass without a single encounter. For most of its history, it was only known from fragments and rare captures. Sailors and fishermen told stories of serpent-like creatures found tangled in nets, and although details were often exaggerated, the presence of something long and ghostly stayed in the imagination. When a frilled shark does rise to the surface, It is often because it is sick or lost. The change in pressure can disorient it. Sometimes rough weather forces deep sea currents upward, carrying creatures into shallower waters. When this happens, a frilled shark can look like an animal from another world. Its long body bends like a ribbon. Its head seems reptilian. Its mouth opens wide, showing teeth that look as if they belong in the age of reptiles, not in the world of modern fish. These rare appearances have sparked fear and fascination for as long as humans have watched the sea. People describe it as a sea serpent, a monster, or a creature that has no place in modern oceans. It is not surprising. The frilled shark carries the outline of ancient predators. Its body seems unchanged by time. Many who see it for the first time believe they are looking at a prehistoric being that has suddenly wandered into the present. But the shark is not a monster, it is a survivor. It lives quietly in the deep, where life follows older rhythms. It does not chase ships or threaten beaches. Instead, it remains in its world of darkness, where light rarely reaches and where the ocean still remembers its ancient forms. There is something remarkable in its stillness. Its shape speaks of a time when the seas were different, when early sharks were just beginning to rise, and the world above the waves was almost unrecognizable. The frilled shark reminds us that the deep sea can hold on to its memories, that evolution can move slowly when conditions allow, and that some creatures do not need to change to keep pace with the modern world. The frilled shark continues its silent journey through ancient waters, its body shaped by patience and deep time. It remains a reminder that the ocean still keeps secrets, and that not every living creature belongs to the age we think of as our own. Long before the first forests rose on land, before the great reptiles walked across ancient continents, a small armored creature began its slow and steady story. If we could travel back to those early seas almost 450 million years ago, we would find a world still in its youth. The air held different gases, the ocean floors were bare in many places, and life was only beginning to take hold along the shorelines. Yet there, in the shallows and estuaries, the ancestors of the horseshoe crab were already present, crawling along the sand with the same patient rhythm we still recognize today. Horseshoe crabs are often called living fossils. Their bodies give us a window into an age that feels distant and almost dreamlike. They have outlived the rise and fall of many great creatures. They watched the early land plants take root, watched insects learn to fly, and continued their journey through every mass extinction that followed. Their design has remained so stable for so long that their fossil remains look very similar to the creatures we see today along modern coasts. When one moves across a beach or a shallow inlet, the movement is slow and deliberate. Their rounded shells resemble smooth helmets. Beneath that protective armor, the legs arrange themselves like careful instruments, each part working together in a steady pattern. Their long pointed tail, called the telson, is not a weapon. It helps them right themselves if a wave turns them over. The simplicity of their body plan hides a remarkable strength. It has allowed them to survive in environments that have changed again and again, while so much else has been swept away by the passage of time. The horseshoe crab's body is divided into broad plates. The first plate is the dome that protects its brain and organs. The second plate holds the legs and mouth parts. The final segment is the tail. The creature's wide shell resembles a shield. It provides protection from predators and shelter from the shifting tides. Underneath, the legs move like gentle paddles, stirring sand and stirring up small prey. It is a body built not for speed, but for endurance. And endurance has been its signature for hundreds of millions of years. But the horseshoe crab has another secret written into its biology, one that reveals how deeply ancient creatures can shape the modern world. Its blood is blue. Unlike human blood, which turns red when mixed with oxygen, the horseshoe crab's blood turns a pale sapphire color. The difference is caused by the chemical that carries oxygen through its body. Humans use iron in their blood. Horseshoe crabs use copper. This gives their blood the shimmering blue that has fascinated scientists and storytellers alike. This blue blood contains a special cellular system that reacts when it touches certain kinds of bacteria. In nature, it protects the horseshoe crab from infections that would harm other animals. In modern medicine, this same ability has been adapted into tests used to ensure the safety of vaccines and medical tools. A small amount of this blood can detect invisible contamination. For many years, it has helped doctors confirm that life-saving medicines are safe. The ancient creature's immune defenses have reached across time into the human world. But the horseshoe crab did not evolve this blood for humans. It is a product of the sea. The world of shallow waters and tidal flats is rich with bacteria and changing conditions. The blue blood is part of the creature's long struggle to endure. It keeps infections at bay. It guards the delicate organs enclosed beneath the shell. It preserves health in environments where danger can be invisible. Each detail of the horseshoe crab's body tells a story of survival. The wide, curved shell protects it from waves and predators. The legs and claws are arranged around its mouth, gently moving food inward as it moves across the ocean floor. The gill pages beneath its shell fold and unfold like delicate fans, drawing oxygen from the water. As it crawls along shallow shores, it is carrying a design that has been tested by the passage of time again and again. In the quiet hours of night, when the tide rises and the moon pulls gently on the ocean, horseshoe crabs sometimes gather in great numbers. They climb over one another, moving in patient circles, following instincts that began hundreds of millions of years ago. Their eggs feed many other animals. Their shells become homes for small creatures. Their presence shapes the coastline in ways that can be easy to overlook. There is a soft beauty in their persistence. They have survived every major extinction. They have kept the same basic form through ages that saw the world transform from barren coastlines into forests and mountains. They are older than the dinosaurs and older than the great sharks that once ruled the seas. They continue to move at the steady pace of tidal time, untouched by the hurry of the surface world. Along quiet beaches and shallow waters, the horseshoe crab continues its ancient journey. It carries the memory of an older Earth on its back, protected by the simple strength of its shell and the quiet rhythm of survival. In its presence, we glimpse the resilience of life, the calm unfolding of deep time, and the patience of a creature that has outlasted worlds. In the soft darkness of the ocean's middle layers, where light sways in pale ribbons and currents move with a gentle certainty, there is a creature that has survived longer than almost any other form of life we know. The jellyfish drifts through the water with a calm confidence. It does not swim in the way fish swim. It does not bite or chase or carve a path through the sea. Instead, it moves like a piece of the ocean made living, carried by the same forces that shaped it 500 million years ago. If we could rewind the history of Earth to a time before trees, before insects, even before the sturdy shells of ancient sea creatures, we would still find jellyfish floating through ancient waters. Fossils of jellyfish have been discovered in layers of stone more than 500 million years old. These fossils capture their delicate shapes, preserved in fine sediment. They show that long before vertebrates rose and left the sea, long before evolution built complex bodies and intricate species, the jellyfish had already found a design that worked. The jellyfish body seems almost unreal in its simplicity. A round, pulsating bell, tentacles trailing like threads of silk. There is no heart, no brain, no backbone. Instead, jellyfish use a basic nervous system that spreads through their bodies like a network of sensitive lightning. This system is called a nerve net. There are no central control centers. Instead, their cells communicate with one another in a fluid symphony that guides every movement. It is strange to imagine a creature without a brain, yet jellyfish respond to touch, to temperature changes, and to the chemical signals of the water. Their nerve net is enough to help them hunt, avoid danger, and navigate the shifting patterns of the ocean's currents. The jellyfish does not think in the way we understand thinking. It does not choose a direction with intention. It listens to the water. It reacts to the world around it with a kind of instinct that has been refined by deep time. Jellyfish begin life in a form very different from the pulsing shape we recognize. Many start as tiny polyps attached to rocks or sand. From there, they release small medusae into the water. These drifting forms grow into the graceful creatures we see suspended in the sea. Their life cycle mirrors the ocean's own patterns of renewal. It is a cycle of transformation and flow, guided not by complex organs, but by the quiet efficiency of ancient biology. Their tentacles are equipped with stinging cells called nematocysts. Inside each cell is a coiled thread that can launch outward with remarkable speed. This thread delivers a tiny dose of venom that can immobilize small fish or plankton. The jellyfish does not chase its prey. It waits. It lets the water bring food close. Its tentacles drift like fine nets that capture life from the sea. The simplicity of this design has remained for millions of years because it works in almost any ocean at almost any depth. In the modern world, jellyfish continue to thrive even when conditions change around them. Many species have adapted to warmer waters and shifting currents. Some populations grow in numbers when other marine life declines. Scientists have observed that jellyfish can survive in environments that become stressful for many creatures. Low oxygen levels, rising temperatures, and changing chemistry can push fish and corals toward danger. But jellyfish often remain untroubled. They move on the currents and continue their drifting journey. This is not because jellyfish are immune to change. They are simply built differently. Their bodies contain mostly water. They need fewer resources to survive. They reproduce quickly when conditions are right. Their simple structure allows them to adjust more easily than creatures that require specific habitats. In a world where ocean temperatures rise and ecosystems shift, jellyfish sometimes fill the open space that other species leave behind. Some view this as a sign of imbalance. Others see it as a reminder of how ancient and resilient the jellyfish truly is. Across hundreds of millions of years, they have witnessed the rise of great predators and the fall of entire ecosystems. They have survived mass extinctions. They drifted through oceans that were warm and shallow, and they persisted when ice caps grew across the world. There is a quiet beauty in their movement. Jellyfish do not conquer or dominate the sea. They float with the tides and currents. They pulse like slow heartbeats of the ocean. Their presence feels like an echo of Earth's earliest forms of life. They remind us that survival does not always require complexity. Sometimes it requires only a design that harmonizes with the world around it. As the water shifts and sunlight fades, jellyfish continue their ancient drift. They glow with soft colors in the deep, moving like lanterns carried by invisible hands. Their bodies are both fragile and strong, shaped by time itself. They remain one of the oldest survivors of our planet's oceans, drifting through memory and into the present. In the quiet places where the sea floor slopes into deep blue twilight, there drifts a creature so old that it carries the memory of worlds that no longer exist. The Nautilus glides through the water with a calm and steady rhythm. Its shell is coiled into a perfect spiral, marked with gentle ridges and soft patterns. It looks like something carved by time itself, a design that speaks of ancient seas and evolutionary beginnings. Long before octopuses and squids learned to shift color and shape, before coral reefs rose into bright underwater cities, the ancestors of the Nautilus drifted through the oceans. They belonged to a group of creatures called cephalopods. Today, we know cephalopods as intelligent and adaptable beings, yet the Nautilus represents the earliest form of that lineage. It is an ancient relative that still carries the first blueprint of a body that could move with intention and explore the sea in 3 dimensions. More than 400 million years ago, early cephalopods began to separate from simpler creatures. Their shells became chambers, their bodies developed tentacles, their eyes grew more complex. These changes were like small steps in a long evolutionary story. The Nautilus never replaced its ancient design, it refined it. While its cousins evolved new ways to hunt and explore, the Nautilus held on to the shape that allowed it to survive for ages. The most striking feature of the Nautilus is its chambered shell. When the Nautilus is young, it begins with only a few small chambers. As it grows, it builds new ones, sealing the old and moving into the next. The spiral becomes a record of its life. The inner chambers hold gas and liquid that help the Nautilus remain buoyant, gently floating through the sea without much effort. This buoyancy system predates the swim bladders used by many fish today. The Nautilus uses a natural pump to adjust the balance of water and gas within its shell. With only small changes, it can rise or sink with quiet precision. This ancient design allowed early cephalopods to navigate the open sea. It gave them the ability to travel long distances and follow the rhythms of the water. The Nautilus does not swim quickly. It does not chase its prey. It uses a slow jet of water to move forward. Its tentacles drift in front of it like soft strands waiting to touch the world. Inside its shell, the Nautilus carries more than just the means to float. It carries a story of how evolution sometimes chooses patience instead of urgency. The spiral shape is an example of the golden ratio found in nature, a mathematical pattern that appears in shells, flowers, and even galaxies. The Nautilus seems to embody this order, not through conscious design, but through the deep history of its lineage. Unlike other cephalopods, the Nautilus does not camouflage itself or solve complex puzzles. Its strengths are quieter. Its eyes are not as advanced as those of an octopus. They are simpler, more ancient in structure, relying on a pinhole opening rather than a lens. Yet they see well enough to navigate dark and rocky seafloors. They guide the Nautilus to feeding grounds where it finds small fish, crustaceans, and bits of food carried by the current. For millions of years, the Nautilus lived without the need to change. The deep ocean offered protection. Few predators followed it into the dark. Its shell became its shield. Its chambers became its shelter. And so the Nautilus continued its slow journey through evolution. But today, the Nautilus faces new challenges, not from ancient predators or shifting continents, but from the modern world. Its shell, once simply a piece of its body, became a valuable item for collectors. The patterns and pearly layers drew human interest. In some regions, nautiluses were hunted in large numbers. Their populations began to decline. These creatures that had survived mass extinctions and changing oceans suddenly faced a danger that evolution had not prepared them for. Scientists and conservationists now work to understand how many nautiluses remain in the wild. Their deep habitats make them difficult to study. They live in remote and rugged underwater landscapes. Some species appear to be vulnerable, their numbers slowly dropping. Regulations and protections are being considered to ensure that they continue to survive. In some places, their trade is limited or watched more carefully. Yet the Nautilus endures in places where its world remains untouched. It continues its slow drift through warm tropical seas. It retreats to deeper waters during the day and returns to the shallows at night. Its movements are guided by tides and instinct, and within its chambered shell rests a lineage that stretches back through the long history of life. There is a quiet patience in the Nautilus. It does not rush. It has no need to change its form. Its spiral shell holds the shape of time. The chambers form a soft path from youth to age. The tentacles glide like delicate threads. The Nautilus remains a reminder of the early seas, of an ancient world that still lives beneath the waves. In the deep currents of ancient rivers and cold coastal waters lives a creature whose body carries the first hints of the vertebrate design. The lamprey drifts through streams and oceans with a body that resembles an eel, yet its shape tells a much older story. It is not a fish in the familiar sense. It has no jaws, no paired fins, and no bones in the way most animals understand bones. Its skeleton is made of cartilage, soft and flexible. Its face is a round opening lined with small, sharp teeth that spiral like a living wheel. If we travel back through time to the early Paleozoic era, long before landscapes were decorated with forests and before the world knew the shapes of dinosaurs, we would find lamprey ancestors swimming through the seas and rivers of ancient Earth. These early vertebrates emerged at a moment when life was experimenting with the first outlines of the bodies that would one day walk on land. The lamprey holds on to these ancient patterns. It brings them forward into the modern world. The round mouth of a lamprey looks strange to human eyes. There are no jaws that snap or open wide. Instead, the teeth form rings in a circle. Each tooth curves inward, pointing toward the center. When a lamprey feeds, it attaches its mouth to the side of a fish and uses its teeth like a rasp. It feeds by drawing nutrients through this simple yet effective design. The circular arrangement has been preserved across hundreds of millions of years because it works in the environments where lampreys live. Their bodies tell a story of evolution at its beginning. Early vertebrates did not begin with jaws. They did not begin with the complex forms we see in sharks or bony fish. Their first challenge was simply to move through the water in a controlled way. Lampreys swim with an undulating motion that travels down their long bodies. It is a movement that seems effortless, like a ribbon carried by water. This pattern of movement became one of the first blueprints for vertebrate locomotion. As life evolved, the lamprey body helped define what it meant to have a spinal cord and a central nervous system. The lamprey's brain and nerve structure are arranged in a way that resembles the early ancestors of all vertebrates. Scientists study lampreys today to understand how the first vertebrate brains formed. Their nervous system still holds the ancient simplicity that guided the earliest animals with backbones. The absence of jaws in lampreys is not a weakness. It is a reminder of a time before complex mouths evolved, a time when the first vertebrates were exploring the possibilities of feeding and hunting. Jaws appeared later in the evolutionary timeline. They created new opportunities for life to diversify and expand. But before jaws came into existence, the lamprey design had already proven itself. It laid the foundation for what would become one of the most successful evolutionary structures on Earth. Lampreys also play a unique role in ecosystems today. Some species spend part of their lives in the ocean and then return to rivers to reproduce. Others remain in freshwater streams for their entire lives. Their larvae live quietly in riverbeds for years, buried in the sediment, filtering tiny particles from the water. When they grow into adults, they migrate into larger waters where they feed and continue their ancient journey. The lamprey's life cycle follows a pattern that is older than most other fish. There is no rush. There is no sudden change. Instead, there is a slow unfolding of forms. The larvae transform into the adults that swim through rivers and oceans. The adults return to the places where they were born. These movements reflect the deep rhythms of the Earth's waters, a reminder that life often follows patterns shaped by time, not by haste. Some species of lamprey are parasitic, attaching themselves to fish. Others do not feed at all in adulthood. They spend their final months traveling upstream to lay eggs, then perish once their task is complete. This simple cycle has continued for millions of years. It is a cycle that shaped the early evolution of vertebrates, teaching nature how to build a spine, how to form muscles that work in harmony, and how to move in ways that follow the water's flow. Their circular mouths and jawless heads may seem unfamiliar, yet these features hold clues to the origins of creatures with backbones. The lamprey did not evolve into other vertebrates, but its shared ancestry connects it to all of them. It is a cousin from a time when life was still exploring the basic concepts of structure and movement. By studying lampreys today, scientists see how the first vertebrates began the journey that would eventually lead to every fish, amphibian, reptile, bird, and mammal. The lamprey remains a quiet reminder of the beginning of that story. It continues to swim with the ancient rhythm of the world's earliest waters. It carries the oldest blueprint for vertebrate life, preserved in a living form. And as it moves through rivers and seas, it brings the memory of Earth's first experiments in creating the bodies that would one day fill every corner of the planet. In some of the darkest waters of the ocean, where distant currents sweep across the seafloor and light has long since vanished, there moves a creature that almost seems designed to be overlooked. Its body is simple and soft, long and flexible like a ribbon of night. It has no jaws, no rigid skeleton, and no bright markings. Yet the hagfish has survived for more than 300 million years. It has witnessed the rise of sharks, the appearance of early reptiles, and the slow turning of geological ages. Through every mass extinction and every climate shift, the hagfish has remained. To understand why the hagfish continues to endure, we must first understand the world it lives in. The deep ocean is a realm of scarcity. Food does not drift freely like it does near the surface. Prey is rare. Life must find a way to survive in a place where the only certainty is darkness. Many creatures here hunt with speed and strength. The hagfish follows another path. It feeds on what the ocean leaves behind. When a whale sinks to the bottom, or when a fish grows weak and falls from the shallows, the hagfish emerges from its hidden places. Its mouth is not a jaw that snaps shut. Instead, it has a circular opening lined with small keratin teeth that scrape and pull at flesh. The hagfish burrows into its food, slipping through small openings in a carcass and feeding from within. It eats slowly and efficiently. In a world with little to spare, nothing goes to waste. To defend itself, the hagfish has evolved one of the most unusual abilities in the animal kingdom. When threatened, it releases clouds of slime into the water. The slime is not mere mucus. It is composed of long protein threads that expand rapidly when they touch seawater. Within moments, the water around the hagfish becomes thick and tangled. A predator trying to bite the hagfish finds its mouth filled with this sticky substance. The more it struggles, the more the slime spreads. This slime is so effective that it can clog the gills of large predators and force them to release the hagfish. Once the danger has passed, the hagfish ties its body into a knot and pulls the knot along its skin, stripping away the excess slime. It floats away unharmed while the predator drifts in confusion. Scientists who study the slime have found that its structure is both delicate and resilient. The protein threads that form the slime are incredibly thin, yet when expanded, they create a barrier that can protect the hagfish from creatures many times its size. The hagfish's body is just as specialized for its quiet existence on the seafloor. It has a flexible skeleton made of cartilage instead of bone. This allows it to bend and twist with ease. It can tie itself into knots to escape tight spaces or push against its surroundings to extract food. Its skin is soft and smooth, yet tough enough to resist the rough surfaces of rocks and shells. Its sensory organs are tuned to detect vibrations and movement rather than light. Sight is unnecessary in a world where light rarely appears. In many ways, the hagfish represents an early branch on the tree of vertebrates. It lacks jaws and paired fins, features that evolved later in the history of fish. Yet it shares other characteristics with vertebrates, such as a notochord, a simple structure that provides support and alignment for the body. This combination of ancestral traits makes the hagfish an important living link to the earliest stages of vertebrate evolution. While the hagfish may seem humble compared to the dramatic forms of sharks or the graceful movements of fish, its survival speaks to the power of simple adaptations. It does not chase prey through open water. It does not rely on speed or power. It thrives in environments where others might struggle. Its body is built to endure, to feed in silence, and to protect itself from danger with an ability that is almost otherworldly. The hagfish plays an essential role in the ecology of the deep. By consuming dead animals, it helps recycle nutrients back into the ocean. It cleans the seafloor and allows new life to flourish. Without creatures like the hagfish, the deep sea would be a much different place. It would be layered with the remains of the ocean's dead, and the cycles of life would move more slowly. In the distant past, when the atmosphere was changing and the Earth's continents began to shift into new shapes, the ancestors of the hagfish were already part of the sea. They persisted through upheaval and through calm. They lived through the extinction events that erased so many others. Their slimy defense, their slow feeding habits, and their flexible bodies allowed them to remain. Today, the hagfish continues to drift across the seafloor. It moves with the patience of time itself, feeding in the dark, knotting its body to shed the slime that protects it, and enduring in a world that has changed again and again. The hagfish is a quiet survivor, a reminder that ancient forms can persist when they find harmony with the environments that shape them. Its simple design has carried it through the long history of the ocean, unchanged in ways that matter most. Deep in the twilight zones of the ocean, where water becomes a silver blur and the world grows quieter with every meter of depth, there drifts a creature that looks like light woven into a living shape. Its body is delicate and glass-like. Its reflections shimmer across the water like the glow of distant stars. This is the comb jelly. At first glance, it may appear related to the jellyfish we already met in our journey. They share the same graceful drifting, the same quiet movement through shifting currents. But the story of the comb jelly reaches farther back into time. Comb jellies are older than jellyfish themselves. Their ancestry stretches past the familiar branches of the tree of life and touches some of the earliest experiments nature attempted when building complex animals. Their fragile bodies hide a deep and ancient lineage. Some scientists believe they may even be among the very first animals with a nervous system, or that they represent one of the earliest steps toward the structures that allow creatures to sense and respond to their surroundings. The comb jelly nervous system is unlike the networks that exist in most animals today. Instead of a central brain or a set of coordinated nerves, it has a diffuse web of cells spread evenly throughout its gelatinous body. This system allows the comb jelly to respond to the ocean around it in fluid and coordinated ways. It does not think or choose like animals with highly developed brains. It reacts in real time to light, touch, and chemical cues. The simplicity of this design holds a kind of elegance. It is a reminder that the roots of complex senses did not begin with bones or shells or specialized organs. They began with delicate threads of nerves floating in ancient seas. The movement of comb jellies is guided by rows of tiny cilia that run along their bodies. These cilia beat like synchronized oars, catching the light and bending it into bands of color. The comb jelly does not swim in a strong or forceful way. It glides. The pulsing cilia push it gently through the sea. This shimmering motion creates the illusion of a rainbow rippling across its surface. These iridescent lines are not the result of pigments. They are reflections caused when light bends across the beating rows of cilia. Some comb jellies take this beauty one step further. Their bodies carry the power to create their own light. Bioluminescence flows through them like an ancient fire. When they move through dark water, the glow flashes in ripples, tracing the path of their motion. The source of this light is an old and mysterious chemical reaction. The same glow appears in deep-sea fish, in fireflies, and in certain microbes. It is one of the oldest signals in the natural world. In comb jellies, this light may serve as communication or as a way to startle predators, or simply as a part of the quiet language of the ocean. The origins of bioluminescence stretch so far back that no single theory explains them fully. Some scientists believe that light first evolved as a way for ancient organisms to cope with oxygen, transforming energy into a harmless glow. Others think it may have been used for attraction or warning. Yet in comb jellies, the glow feels like a piece of the deep ocean's memory, a reminder that even in darkness, there has always been light. The place of comb jellies on the tree of life is one of the great scientific questions of our time. For many years, they were grouped with jellyfish because their bodies looked similar. Both lack bones and brains. Both drift freely with the currents. But the comb jelly is not a jellyfish. It belongs to a group called tenophores, and recent discoveries suggest that it may be even more ancient than the line that led to jellyfish. Some biologists believe that comb jellies were among the earliest animals to split from the shared ancestry of all complex creatures. If this is true, then the comb jelly nervous system represents one of the first drafts of nature's design. It means that the ability to sense and respond to the world around us began not with predators or large organisms, but with delicate creatures drifting through ancient seas. Other scientists still debate this idea. The order of evolutionary events is not always clear. Fossils of soft-bodied animals are rare. The lines of descent can blur, especially when we travel this far back into time. But even in uncertainty, the comb jelly remains a messenger from a distant era. Its presence reminds us that life began in the sea, with bodies that floated and glowed and experimented with new forms. The comb jelly teaches us that complexity can arise in surprising ways, that the nervous system we depend on today shares deep roots with the simplest designs, and that bioluminescence, this gentle light that flickers through the ocean, is a language that life invented long before the first vertebrates explored the water. As the comb jelly drifts through silent currents, its shimmering cilia scatter light into shifting rainbows. Its glow pulses in slow patterns. It moves forward as though carried by time itself. In its delicate body, we see a record of Earth's earliest oceans and the moment when living things began to sense the world around them. Quietly, the comb jelly continues its ancient journey through the sea, older than jellyfish, and holding a history that reaches back to the beginnings of animal life. Far below the sunlit surface, beneath the warm coastal shallows and the restless swells of the open ocean, lies a world that unfolds slowly. The pressure is immense. The water is cold. The seafloor stretches like an endless plain of shadow and stone. In this quiet realm of darkness moves a creature that looks as if it belongs to an older Earth. Its body is armored with plates. Its legs are jointed like a small mechanical invention. Its eyes gleam with a faint shimmer that catches the smallest hints of light. This is the giant isopod, a distant cousin of the crustaceans that crawl across beaches and a living reminder of ancient seas. If we could travel back through the layers of geological time, we would find creatures on the seafloor that resemble these isopods very closely. Long before the first great forests rose, during the age when Earth was forming the coal that remains deep in the crust today, the ocean floor was home to trilobites. Trilobites filled those early seas like leaves in a vast underwater forest. They crawled across rocky beds and slipped through shallow waters. Their bodies were covered in segmented plates, just like the isopods of today. Although trilobites have been gone for more than 200 million years, the design of the giant isopod suggests a deep connection. Evolution did not need to alter the basic idea of an armored crustacean built to crawl and endure. The giant isopod carries the echo of those ancient trilobite bodies, not as a copy, but as a survivor of a lineage that discovered an effective and lasting blueprint. The giant isopod's size alone seems almost improbable. On land, an isopod is a small creature. We might know them as roly-polies, tiny crustaceans that curl into a ball when touched. But in the deep sea, these creatures can grow as long as a house cat. Their bodies stretch into impressive lengths, with armor that gleams like the surface of old metal. This size is not just chance. It is part of a phenomenon known as deep-sea gigantism, where light and warmth fade. The rules of survival shift. Food is scarce. Predators are rare. The waters are cold and heavy. In this environment, many animals grow larger than their relatives near the surface. Larger bodies are able to store more energy. They lose heat more slowly. They move efficiently in the deep currents. Some scientists believe that gigantism offers protection from pressure and starvation. Others think it allows the animals to drift more easily across the sea floor in search of food. The giant isopod spends much of its life walking quietly across the bottom. It does not sprint or chase. It does not need speed. It has adapted to a world where the slowest creature may be the one that survives the longest. Its metabolism is as patient as the deep sea. It can go for months, sometimes even years, without food. When a dead whale or other sea creature falls to the bottom, the giant isopod feeds until it can feed no more. Its stomach can expand to hold a meal that sustains it for long stretches of time. This ability is not just a curiosity. It is essential to living in a world where food arrives rarely and without warning. The giant isopod may spend long hours sitting motionless on the sand, waiting for a scent on the current that signals the presence of food. When that moment comes, it becomes a careful scavenger. It works with slow determination, using its sturdy legs and sharp mouth parts to consume what the ocean has given. The creature's body tells the story of these adaptations. Its legs are arranged beneath the armored shell, each one built for walking rather than swimming. Its antennae sweep the darkness for information. Its compound eyes detect tiny movements or changes in light. It carries its world with it across the seafloor, where silence reigns and every instinct must work with precision. The giant isopod does not behave like the predators of the shallows. It does not patrol territory or chase prey. Instead, it embodies the rhythm of the deep. A slow metabolism conserves energy. A large body offers protection, and the ability to wait for as long as necessary allows it to survive in a place where life arrives in sudden and unpredictable gifts. There is something almost peaceful about this creature moving through the dim water. It is not dangerous or aggressive, it simply endures. It has endured since the ancient oceans that once sheltered trilobites and the early inhabitants of the sea. When those worlds changed and forests sprouted on land, when entire ecosystems vanished and new ones rose, the ancestors of the giant isopod kept their steady pace along the ocean floor. Today, the giant isopod continues this quiet journey. It walks across canyons and plains of sand beneath the weight of water that has pressed down for millions of years. It is proof that life in the deep sea can evolve in ways that are patient and deliberate. In its armored plates and long, steady form, we see one more example of how ancient designs persist. A creature shaped by darkness and pressure, built to wait and built to endure. If we continue our quiet descent through the ocean's long memory, we eventually reach a group of creatures that defy almost every expectation about what it means to be an animal. They do not swim or crawl or glide. They do not chase or hide. They do not even have a nervous system or a heart. Yet they belong to the kingdom of animals, and they may be among the oldest of all. Sea sponges. Their story reaches back more than 600 million years to a time when the world was still forming the basic outlines of complex life. Imagine an ancient ocean before plants adorned the land or before creatures with eyes explored the shallows. The water was filled with simple organisms drifting through the currents. Oxygen was scarce, and the world did not yet breathe the air we know today. But in the quiet depths, there were already sponges. They clung to rocks and reefs, filtering water through their porous bodies. The earliest fossils of sponges reveal a shape that looks surprisingly familiar. Even the oldest specimens resemble the forms we find in today's seas, gently drawing water in and pushing it through their hollow bodies. Sponges do not have a single organ. They are built from specialized cells that work together like tiny pumps. These cells pull water through the sponge's body and extract oxygen and food. Long before fish developed gills or humans developed lungs, sponges were already mastering the art of breathing the ocean. Their bodies were like the first experiment in drawing life from the water. They did not need to move. They simply needed to let the sea flow through them. Scientists believe that sponges played a role in shaping the early oceans. As they filtered water, they helped remove organic material and release oxygen into their environment. By doing so, they may have helped transform the ancient oceans from low oxygen environments into places where other life could flourish. The rise of oxygen paved the way for more complex organisms to survive. It allowed for larger bodies and more active movement. In this way, the quiet filtering of sponges may have changed the world. The sponge's body is a collection of small chambers and channels. Water flows through tiny pores, carrying microscopic food and oxygen. The sponge filters each drop carefully. It has no mouth or stomach. Instead, each cell performs its own small part. These cells are remarkable because they can change their function when needed. If the sponge is injured or damaged, its cells can rearrange themselves to repair the wound. This regenerative ability goes far beyond simple healing. A sponge can be cut into pieces, and each piece can grow into a new sponge. The boundaries between individuals blur. In some ways, a group of sponges can behave like a single giant organism. This regenerative power has fascinated scientists for generations. It challenges our understanding of individuality. It suggests that life can exist in forms that do not follow the standard rules. The sponge is flexible, not through movement, but through transformation. It can rebuild itself from almost nothing. Its cells can switch roles and reorganize in ways that seem almost purposeful. The sponge is both ancient and inventive. Some sponges have lived for centuries. They anchor themselves to the seafloor and grow slowly, becoming part of the landscape. Others form vast colonies that stretch across reefs, creating porous structures where other creatures find shelter. In cold, deep waters, there are sponges that grow as large as a person, standing like silent monuments in the dark. In shallow tropical seas, their bright colors add texture to coral reefs. Their presence is a quiet reminder that the ocean can be shaped by stillness as much as by movement. Sea sponges also help maintain the balance of modern oceans. They filter large volumes of water, removing bacteria and maintaining clarity. In doing so, they support entire ecosystems. Small animals hide inside their hollow spaces. Fish seek shelter among their branches. Coral reefs rely on the filtration and stability that sponges offer. A world without sponges would be a world where many other creatures struggle to thrive. Yet sponges are not fragile in the way we might expect. They have survived violent shifts in climate and multiple extinction events. They have endured the upheaval of continents and the rise and fall of sea levels. Their simple body plan is one of the most successful designs in the history of life. While other animals came and went, sponges held their ground in the same patient way they always have. In their presence, we see the earliest shape of animal life, a creature that does not need eyes or brains to succeed, a creature that understands the ocean by allowing it to pass through every part of its body. Sponges remind us that survival can take many forms. They are ancient architects of the sea, quietly shaping the environment around them. As we drift past these simple forms on the ocean floor, we encounter a lineage that has seen more of Earth's history than almost any other. Sea sponges stand as witnesses to the deep past. They are both ancient and alive, continuing the slow and steady work they began long before other animals first appeared. As we continue through the ocean's long, quiet history, we arrive at creatures so graceful and delicate that they resemble flowers more than animals. Their bodies open like the petals of underwater lilies, stretching feathered arms into the current. These are the crinoids. Their lineage reaches back more than 450 million years. They decorated ancient seafloors when the world was young and when the first coral reefs were still forming their stony foundations. In those early oceans, crinoids were not rare or hidden. They dominated the reefs and shallows in great gardens that swayed with the rhythm of the water. The first crinoids appear in the fossil record long before the age of dinosaurs. Their forms have been preserved in limestone and ancient sediments, their bodies arranged like delicate sculptures. Some grew tall, anchored by long stalks that lifted their feathered arms toward the light. Others settled on rocky floors, covering the seafloor like fields of underwater plants. Yet crinoids are not plants at all. They are animals, members of a group called echinoderms, relatives of sea stars and sea urchins. Their bodies follow a pattern that nature seems to favor in the sea, a radial symmetry that radiates like the spokes of a wheel. During the Paleozoic era, crinoids were among the most successful animals on the planet. Countless species arose and filled the oceans, each one adapted to a particular depth or current. Some stood in tall clusters that formed forests of living branches. Others created carpets of delicate arms that filtered food from passing currents. Their presence shaped the early reefs. As they lived and died, their calcium rich skeletons built thick layers of rock. In some parts of the world, entire cliffs and hillsides are made almost entirely from the fossil remains of ancient crinoids. The design of the crinoid body is both simple and intricate. Each arm is lined with tiny structures that capture plankton and particles from the water. The arms move slowly, opening and closing like the movements of a slow dance. The crinoid does not chase its food. The ocean brings nourishment to it. Water flows across the arms, and the crinoid gathers what it needs. This method of feeding has changed very little across hundreds of millions of years. It is a method built on patience and the gentle partnership between the creature and its environment. Most ancient crinoids lived attached to the seafloor. They anchored themselves with long stalks and swayed like gardens of underwater lilies. For many years, scientists believed that all crinoids were fixed in place. Their beauty seemed tied to stillness. But as living species were studied more closely, something surprising was discovered. Many modern crinoids are mobile. Some glide across rocks and coral. Some swim by waving their arms in coordinated movements. They can lift themselves from the seafloor and drift like feathers in a gentle breeze. This mobility is a quiet reminder that ancient lineages are not frozen in time. The crinoid has adapted without losing its essential form. It still feeds with its feathered arms. It still carries the patterns of early oceans in its body, yet it can move when it needs to, lifting away from danger or seeking new currents. The stalk that once held it rooted to the seafloor is not always present in modern species. Some have become free living, their arms spread wide as they travel through the water. In the deep ocean, there are crinoids that grow tall once again. Their stalks reach upward like slender columns, and their arms unfurl in graceful fans. These creatures live in places where light never reaches, where darkness and pressure shape the rhythms of life. Their movement is slow and deliberate. They drift and settle, responding to the faintest signals in the water. The presence of crinoids in both ancient and modern oceans tells a story of remarkable endurance. Despite changes in climate and chemistry, despite extinctions that erased entire ecosystems, crinoids survived. Their bodies were built for the long cycles of the sea. They thrived when the world was young. They persisted through upheaval. They adapted when they needed to, just enough to remain part of the ocean's future. In some fossil beds, the remains of crinoids form patterns so intricate that they resemble lace. Their arms are preserved in stone, spread like frozen petals. These fossils allow us to see the ancient ocean as it once was, filled with gardens of sea lilies that swayed in slow currents. They remind us that the ocean has been shaping life far longer than the land. Today, crinoids continue their quiet existence. They still filter the water and remain part of the rhythm of coral reefs and rocky slopes. They still display forms that have been carried forward through millions of years. Their bodies are both delicate and enduring, built for a world that changes slowly and steadily. As we drift past them, it becomes clear that crinoids are more than simple creatures. They are living reminders of the early oceans, the flowered arms of time reaching out from the past into the present. Their ancient lineage continues to sway beneath the waves, marking the passage of Earth's long history with every gentle movement. As our journey moves into the flowing pathways of rivers and estuaries, we meet a creature whose presence connects the quiet depths of fresh water with the vast plains of the open sea. The sturgeon glides beneath the surface like a memory carved in smooth stone. It has the long shape of a fish, yet its body tells a different story. This story reaches back more than 200 million years to an age when dinosaurs walked on land and the first flowering plants had not yet begun to bloom. The sturgeon's silhouette is unlike that of most modern fish. Its body is long and muscular, built for strength rather than speed. Along its back and sides are rows of bony plates called scutes. These plates are arranged in patterns like the armor of an ancient creature. Each scute is a shield of hard tissue that protects the sturgeon from predators. Instead of smooth scales, the sturgeon carries these armored plates as a final reminder of the early conditions that shaped its ancestors. It is not covered in armor because the world is still dangerous, but because it once was. Sturgeons are ancient survivors. They belong to a group of fish that first appeared in the age of early reptiles. When the earth was still young, oceans were filled with sharks and giant sea reptiles. Rivers flowed through landscapes that we would hardly recognize today. Yet even in those early times, sturgeons were already living along coastlines and river mouths, moving with patient rhythm between freshwater and salt. This slow migration is one of the defining features of sturgeons. Many species spend their lives in the sea, but return to freshwater rivers to spawn. They travel against strong currents, moving upstream for long distances. Some return to the same river where they were born. Their journey takes them through a world of changing temperature and salinity. Their bodies are adapted to survive in both kinds of water, shifting gently as the conditions change. The most remarkable detail of the sturgeon's evolution lies not only in its body or in its behavior, but in how little its basic form has changed. While other lineages developed new defenses and new ways of feeding, the sturgeon maintained its ancient shape. Its mouth is positioned on the underside of its head, a design that suits feeding along the riverbed. Its whisker-like barbels help it sense hidden food, feeling along the sand in places where vision cannot always guide. Its skin is thick, smooth, and strong. This ancient blueprint was successful enough to carry the sturgeon through extinctions and climate shifts. It survived when the great reptiles disappeared. It continued to thrive as mammals rose and forests expanded. It swam through glacial meltwaters and through the rivers of continents, still growing into their modern shapes. The armored body plan proved durable and effective. Yet today, the sturgeon faces a different kind of challenge, not from predators or ancient upheavals, but from human behavior. Many sturgeon species are threatened or endangered. Their slow reproductive cycles make them vulnerable to changes in their environment and to overharvesting. They do not mature quickly. Some need decades before they are able to produce eggs. When these fish are removed too quickly, their populations cannot recover in time. For centuries, sturgeons have been valued for their meat and for their roe. Their eggs are turned into caviar, a delicacy that made them a target for intensive fishing. In some places, entire populations were devastated. Rivers that once carried large schools of sturgeon now hold only a few scattered survivors. Barriers like dams and pollution further limit their journeys upstream. The pathways that once allowed them to migrate and reproduce are often blocked by human structures. Yet even in the face of these challenges, the sturgeon remains a symbol of ancient strength. Conservation efforts are beginning to protect these fish in many regions. Scientists and local communities work together to restore habitats, remove obstacles, and monitor the health of populations. Hatcheries release young sturgeon into rivers where the species had almost disappeared. Regulations help control harvesting and support recovery. The sturgeon's story is a reminder that ancient creatures can become delicate under new pressures. Their longevity does not guarantee safety. They have endured millions of years of natural change, but the modern world introduces challenges that evolution never prepared them to face. The survival of the sturgeon is a responsibility shared by the people who depend on rivers and oceans. Their presence connects us to a far older world. To watch a sturgeon swimming along the riverbed is to see a fragment of deep time moving in the present. Its armor glints in the water. Its body moves with a slow confidence. The scutes along its back catch small reflections of light. The fish does not hurry. It does not need to. It is shaped by an age when patience was the most important trait of all. Sturgeons continue their long migration year after year, following patterns older than most landscapes. They travel through waterways that have carried them for countless generations. They are reminders of how ancient life still lives among us, moving with steady grace beneath the surface of the water. Where rivers breathe out into the ocean and the salt water mingles with fresh, a patient hunter waits. Its body lies just beneath the surface, barely breaking the line between water and sky. Only two eyes rise above the stillness. These are the crocodilians of the sea, descendants of an ancient lineage that once ruled the land long before dinosaurs grew tall necks and soaring wings. They are living reminders of the archosaurs, the great reptile family that once dominated the continents. The most well-known of these sea-crossing reptiles is the saltwater crocodile. Its range stretches across a vast part of the planet, from the wide river mouths of northern Australia to mangrove forests in Southeast Asia, from the coral-filled coast of Papua New Guinea to distant Pacific islands. It travels on tides and currents, using the ocean as a pathway rather than a barrier. There have been reports of crocodiles traveling across open sea for long distances, carried by the steady pull of the water. Few creatures from the ancient world have adapted so seamlessly to both land and ocean. The crocodile's body carries the unmistakable shapes of its ancestors. Its form has changed very little for millions of years. This is not because evolution stopped, but because the design was already strong. The long, powerful tail acts like a rudder. The heavy armor of scales protects the body. The jaws are filled with sharp teeth and driven by muscles strong enough to hold on to prey with relentless force. The eyes and nostrils sit high on the head, allowing the crocodile to stay submerged while watching everything that happens at the surface. Even the way a crocodile moves reflects an ancient blueprint. On land, it walks with steady, deliberate steps. In water, it becomes something else entirely. Its limbs fold against its body. The tail takes over. With a slow wave from side to side, the crocodile glides forward. It does not swim with frantic movement. It moves in silence. The ocean holds it in a world where noise becomes a disadvantage. The crocodile has learned to use stillness as a hunting strategy. The saltwater crocodile is not simply a visitor to the sea, it is a master of the tides. It hunts in estuaries where fish, birds, and mammals gather to feed. These brackish waters are places of transformation. Freshwater rivers lose their momentum and meet the slow breath of the ocean. Sediments settle, plant life changes, animals gather in large numbers. The crocodile waits here because the world comes to it. To understand why crocodilians hold this ancient position in coastal ecosystems, we need to look deeper into their ancestry. Their roots stretch back to the archosaurs, a group that gave rise to dinosaurs and to birds. Many of those lineages vanished long ago, but the crocodile's ancestors continued to evolve along their own steady path. They survived a mass extinction that erased most of their relatives. They adapted not by becoming more complex, but by refining the parts of their body that already worked. Their basic design is simple, yet powerful. They have the ability to float almost motionless in the water. Their mouths open with slow precision and then snap shut with incredible speed. They are patient hunters. They watch the shoreline from the shade of mangroves. They wait for a fish to break the surface or a bird to dip low. When the moment comes, they strike with force that surprises even those who have studied them closely. This predatory style allows them to act as apex predators in estuaries and coastal regions. They do not need to chase their prey across long distances. They use the movement of the current to their advantage. They move into places where the tides concentrate life. In these moments, the crocodile becomes a part of the ecosystem's balance. It removes weak or sick individuals. It keeps populations of other animals in check. It shares the same role that ancient archosaurs once held in the primeval world. Even their senses are tuned to this role. Their hearing is sensitive to the slightest disturbances. Their eyes see well in low light. They feel the vibrations of the water through their jaw and skin. These sensory abilities allow them to detect movement in murky water or in the quiet shadows of the riverbank. They may lie still for hours, conserving energy, watching and waiting. Crocodilians have changed far less than other reptiles because their form achieved a kind of balance with nature. They do not need to be fast all the time. They do not need special defenses that evolve quickly. Their armor and patience serve them well. Their connection to both sea and land gives them access to a wider world than many animals ever know. The crocodile can cross rivers, oceans, islands, and coastlines. It follows the tides in a way that suggests a deep understanding of the rhythm of water. In the salt-filled edges of the world, where continents meet the sea, crocodilians continue their ancient story. They are not creatures of the past. They live in the present with a confidence earned through millions of years of survival. They glide through the water with the weight of that history. Their bodies echo the shape of archosaurs that lived long before the modern world took form, and in their silent presence along the coastline, the ancient sea carries one more reminder that some designs simply endure. Far below the surface of the sea, where light fades into eternal midnight and the water becomes cold and silent, there drifts a creature that confuses the imagination. It belongs to the deep sea, yet it carries a body plan that looks like it was borrowed from an ancient ocean. The vampire squid moves slowly through the water, suspended between past and present. It is neither a true squid nor a true octopus, but a distant cousin of both. Its story is written in the stillness of deep time, in a world where evolution chose patience rather than constant change. The vampire squid lives in depths where oxygen levels are so low that most animals cannot survive. This zone is called the oxygen minimum zone. Here, the sea presses down with enormous weight, temperatures drop, the water becomes calm and still. For creatures that breathe through gills or burn energy quickly, this place is inhospitable. But the vampire squid has evolved not to escape this world, but to live within it. Its body is adapted to absorb and use oxygen with remarkable efficiency. It survives on a fraction of the oxygen that other cephalopods need. Its metabolism is slow, quiet, and efficient. Unlike most cephalopods, it does not sprint. It does not chase prey. It does not camouflage itself in bursts of changing color. Instead, it drifts. The vampire squid's arms are connected by a web of skin that spreads like a dark cape. When threatened, it can turn itself inside out, wrapping its arms around its body and pressing the spines on its arms outward. This creates a shape that confuses predators and keeps the animal safe. The spines are soft, yet they act as a protective shield. The vampire squid does not need to flee at high speed. It simply changes its form. Its name comes from its appearance, rather than its feeding habits. The vampire squid does not drink blood. It is a gentle scavenger. It feeds on detritus, the drifting remains of other animals and plants that fall slowly from the bright surface above. This rain of organic material is called marine snow. To catch it, the vampire squid extends two slender filaments from its body. These filaments are coated with sticky cells that trap particles floating in the water. Once enough food collects on them, the filaments sweep the food toward its mouth. This method of feeding requires little movement and consumes little energy. It is a perfect strategy for life in the deep where resources are rare. The vampire squid carries an ancient body plan that has changed very little over time. While other cephalopods evolved more complex behaviors and abilities, the vampire squid kept the form that worked best for its environment. It retains features from a shared ancestor that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. In many ways, it is a window into an earlier world. While modern squids developed long tentacles for hunting and octopuses learned to crawl and explore the seafloor, the vampire squid remained in the open water, drifting as it always had. The animal's eyes are among the largest of any creature relative to its body size. They are shaped perfectly to collect the faintest traces of light. In the deep sea, light may come only from bioluminescent flashes. The vampire squid uses its eyes to detect these subtle flickers. Sometimes it creates light itself. Along its body are small organs called photophores that produce a soft glow. These lights can confuse predators or help the vampire squid blend into the background. Instead of running from danger, it fades into the darkness. Many people imagine the vampire squid as a predator because of its name and its dramatic appearance. But its behavior is gentle and misunderstood. It does not seek conflict. It does not attack. It has no need to dominate its environment. Instead, it drifts through the water, carried by currents that flow across ancient pathways. Even its movements are softer than those of its relatives. It uses a slow pulsing motion from its fins to glide. If it needs to move quickly, it expels a jet of water from its mantle, but these moments are rare. The vampire squid's world is one of silence and endurance. It belongs to a lineage that found success not through change, but through stability. Its ancestors discovered a way of life that did not require constant adaptation. They learned to breathe in low-oxygen environments and to feed on the ocean's drifting remains. These strategies allowed them to inhabit the deep long before many other animals ever reached it. In a world that continues to change, the vampire squid remains almost unchanged. Its survival challenges the idea that evolution always favors the newest or most complex form. Sometimes, the most successful design is the one that simply lasts. The vampire squid drifts through the ocean as a living echo of ancient seas. Its presence reminds us that the deep holds stories that have never been rewritten. It remains a quiet guardian of a world shaped by darkness, still holding onto a blueprint that time itself has barely altered. There are moments in the story of the ocean when something thought impossible suddenly appears. In 1976, near the coast of Hawaii, a creature rose from the deep that science had never catalogued, never photographed, and never expected to see alive. It was not a fossil or a rumor from distant history. It was a living shark, large and gentle, drifting just beneath the waves. The Megamouth shark. Its presence reminded us that even in the modern age, the ocean still holds secrets that sleep in the dark. The first encounter was almost accidental. A naval vessel brought up a huge shark tangled in its anchor lines. Its mouth was wide and rounded like the opening of a cave. Rows of fine teeth lined the inside. The scientists who examined it realized that this was not just a new species. It belonged to a lineage that stretched back into ancient seas, to a time when filter-feeding sharks began to sift their food from the water. In the long timeline of evolution, the megamouth had been present for millions of years, yet no one had seen it until that day. This shark does not behave like its more famous relatives. It does not strike with speed or chase prey across reefs. It moves slowly, holding its great mouth open as it glides. Inside its mouth are long fibers that help strain plankton and tiny animals from the water. This is the same feeding method that the largest shark in the world, the whale shark, uses. It is the strategy of giants that live on small food, but unlike whale sharks or basking sharks, the megamouth prefers a world far from the light. The deep sea is its home. It lives in water that seems almost motionless. There, the pressure is high and the temperature is cold. The megamouth follows a daily rhythm that scientists are still trying to understand. Some believe it rises toward the surface at night to feed, following the slow upward movement of plankton and small creatures that drift into the shallows under cover of darkness. When the sun rises, the megamouth sinks again into the deep, returning to a world without light. Its body is shaped for this slow journey. The skin is dark on top and lighter below. Its eyes are small. Its fins are wide and flexible, allowing it to move with little effort. The shark does not need to outswim predators. It depends on darkness and depth for protection. It feeds on the drift of tiny living things that fill the ocean's currents. These plankton are as old as life in the sea itself. They rise and fall with the daily breathing of the ocean. The megamouth moves with them. Since 1976, only a few megamouth sharks have been seen. Some were caught by accident in fishing nets. Others were filmed near the surface at night. Each sighting is rare and usually brief. There are no reliable patterns. The shark appears and disappears again into the dark. Even after decades of study, scientists still know little about how far it migrates or how many exist. The rarity of encounters reveals something important. The deep sea is not empty. It is not a desert without life. It is a world where life follows different rules. The megamouth shark is a reminder that survival does not always require speed or aggression. It can emerge from patience. It can grow from a design that is simple and efficient. The megamouth's evolutionary history stretches far into the past. Its lineage is part of the group of sharks that adapted to feed by filtering the water, a method that may have first appeared when plankton began filling the oceans. The filter feeding strategy supports vast bodies and long lives. It connects the megamouth to ancient oceans, where early sharks swam across warm seas and followed the slow movements of plankton bloom. There is an almost dreamlike quality to the shark's existence. It rises quietly from the deep, takes its fill of drifting life, and descends again into its shadowed world. It is present only in brief glimpses. Those who have seen it describe its movement as gentle and unhurried, as if it is always aware of the age of the ocean around it. Even its discovery seems like something guided by chance, a creature that eluded science for so long that many believed there were no large animals left to find. Yet the megamouth shark proved that ancient forms can still linger in the twilight waters. It is a reminder of how little we truly know about the sea. Some stories of the ocean teach us about the distant past. Some teach us about quiet survival. The megamouth teaches us that the ocean still hides surprises. It belongs to a world that remains beyond the reach of sunlight and beyond complete understanding. It drifts with the slow pulse of the ocean, a living echo of ancient seas, and a sign that discovery is still possible even in the modern world. Far beneath the horizon, where the sea meets the sky in a blue that stretches across the world, A familiar shape moves through the open water. A wide shell glides just below the surface. Its long flippers slice through waves with slow, powerful strokes. This is the leatherback sea turtle, a voyager of the ocean and a survivor of a lineage that reaches back more than 100 million years. Long ago, when giant reptiles roamed the land and the first flowering plants were just beginning to appear, the ancestors of the leatherback already swam through ancient seas. They witnessed the changing of continents and the shifting of climates. They survived the extinction that erased the dinosaurs. They carried their form forward through geological time, adapting as the world changed around them. The leatherback is different from all other sea turtles. Its shell is not hard and rigid. Instead, the shell is soft and flexible, covered in a tough layer of skin and tiny bones arranged like a mosaic. This adaptation allows the turtle to dive deeper than any other turtle species. Its body flexes with the pressure of the deep. The soft shell design absorbs the weight of the water like a cushion. The leatherback can reach depths where sunlight vanishes and the water becomes cold and quiet. This flexibility is more than a physical feature. It is a symbol of the turtle's long survival. When most turtles developed hard shells, the leatherback took a different path. It evolved to swim great distances in the open ocean. Its streamlined body allows it to cross entire seas. Some leatherbacks travel thousands of miles in a single migration. They move from tropical beaches, where they nest, to cold waters rich with jellyfish, their primary food. Jellyfish drift slowly in the currents, and the leatherback follows them. Its diet creates a delicate balance in the ocean. By feeding on jellyfish, leatherbacks help regulate their populations. Without turtles, jellyfish could spread quickly in some regions, transforming ecosystems. The leatherback's presence maintains a connection between warm coastal waters and the cold open ocean. The turtle's movements are guided by something that scientists only recently began to understand. Leatherback sea turtles can sense the magnetic fields of the Earth. These magnetic signals form invisible lines across the planet. Each location has its own magnetic signature, like a map that never fades. The leatherback uses this map to navigate across oceans. When hatchlings emerge from their nests on beaches, they begin their journey by imprinting on the magnetic field of the place where they were born. Years later, after crossing thousands of miles of sea, the adult turtles return to the same beach guided by the Earth's magnetism. This ability is not based on sight or memory alone. It is a sense that humans cannot easily imagine. The turtle feels the shape of the world in the water around it. The magnetic field becomes a silent guide, helping the turtle find its way through open ocean where there are no landmarks and no familiar paths. Even in storms or shifting currents, the turtle continues on its course. The leatherback's body supports this kind of travel. Its flippers are long and powerful, shaped like wings. They push the turtle forward with steady strokes. Its muscles are strong enough to swim through deep, cold waters. Its body temperature remains higher than the surrounding water, allowing it to move into colder regions than most reptiles can tolerate. The leatherback lives in many oceans of the world, linking distant places with its migrations. The turtle's nesting behavior adds another layer to its ancient story. Female turtles return to the same beaches where they hatched decades earlier. They crawl onto shore at night, leaving trails in the sand. They dig nests with their flippers and gently cover their eggs. Then they return to the sea, leaving the next generation to begin the long journey alone. Each hatchling must find its way into the water, guided by instinct and the faint glow of the horizon. This cycle has been repeated for millions of years, yet the leatherback faces new challenges in the modern world. Coastal development changes the beaches where they nest. Artificial lights confuse hatchlings. Plastic waste in the oceans can be mistaken for jellyfish. Fishing nets and marine debris can trap turtles as they swim. Despite these challenges, conservation efforts continue to help protect the leatherback and support its return to many regions. The leatherback sea turtle is more than an ocean traveler. It is a reminder of a world shaped by time. Its softshell design, its long migrations, and its ability to navigate using the magnetic fields of the Earth all reflect the quiet intelligence found in ancient creatures. The leatherback has learned to read the ocean and to cross its vast expanse with confidence. As we picture the turtle swimming beneath the waves, moving toward the horizon, we see a creature that connects us to a distant past. Its flippers cut through the water with calm purpose. Its shell rises and falls with the rhythm of the sea. The leatherback has survived more than 100 million years of change. It continues its journey across the great waters of the world, carrying with it the memory of the ancient reptile lines from which it came. In the quiet shallows where waves stretch and fold against the shore, there is a creature that seems almost sculpted from the sea itself. It does not swim. It does not race across the water. It rests along rocks and sand, and yet it is very much alive. This is the sea star. Its five-armed symmetry has become one of the most recognizable shapes in the ocean, a shape that has been carried forward from a time when the world was still young. Sea stars belong to a lineage that reaches back into the Paleozoic era. They appeared in ancient reefs long before complex fish evolved the elegant shapes we know today. Their ancestors crawled along seafloors that looked nothing like the ones we see now. Corals had only just begun to build their stony skeletons. Early marine ecosystems were dominated by creatures with strange forms and unfamiliar biology. Yet early sea stars were already recognizable by their radial symmetry. Their bodies sprawled outward from the center like the points of a compass. This symmetry is not simply decorative. It is central to how sea stars move and feed and interact with their environment. Each arm is equipped with hundreds of tiny tube feet that grip the rock or sand. The sea star glides slowly across the seafloor, guided not by speed but by the careful coordination of these tube feet. Its movements are subtle and deliberate. It can travel across the ocean floor without drawing attention to itself. The structure of the sea star's body holds a deeper mystery. Unlike many animals that rely on a single brain or central organ to control movement, the sea star distributes its nervous system throughout its arms. Each arm contains the ability to sense the world and respond to it. This arrangement gives the sea star a unique resilience. If one arm becomes injured, the others continue to function. The most remarkable feature of sea stars is their ability to regenerate. If an arm is lost to a predator or damaged by the rough environment of the tide, the sea star can regrow it. Some species can even regrow an entire body from a single remaining arm. This capacity is not a quick reaction. It is a quiet and patient rebuilding. The new arm forms over time, cell by cell, guided by the sea star's ancient blueprint. In a world where many creatures depend on avoiding injury, the sea star has learned to accept it as part of life and then renew itself. This regenerative strength is one of the reasons sea stars have continued to thrive through the ages. They do not avoid the challenges of the sea. They endure them. Their bodies are designed to withstand the wear of waves and the presence of predators. Their calm presence hides a deep adaptability. Sea stars play an important role in the balance of marine ecosystems. Many species are predators that feed on shellfish and other animals living along the seafloor. They pry open the shells of their prey with their arms. Then they do something that seems almost impossible. They extend part of their stomach outward through their mouth and digest their food outside their body. It is a remarkable feeding strategy that allows sea stars to consume prey that other creatures cannot. By feeding in this way, sea stars help control the populations of other organisms. They prevent any one species from dominating the ecosystem. In some regions, sea stars are considered keystone species, meaning that their presence or absence can dramatically change the entire community of life along the ocean floor. If sea stars disappear from a habitat, certain shellfish or algae may multiply unchecked. Entire ecosystems can shift. Their influence goes beyond feeding. Their bodies create hiding places for smaller animals. Their movements stir the sand and move nutrients across the seafloor. They become part of the rhythm of the tide, shaping the environment quietly. Even in deeper waters where light does not reach, sea stars cling to rocks and coral. Their colors may be bright or muted, but their shapes remain distinct and familiar. The sea star's symmetry is more than a pattern. It represents a form of balance that has endured across geological time. When we see a sea star resting in a tide pool, we see a body plan that has survived mass extinctions and the shifting of continents. It is a design that emerged early in the history of animals and has remained because it works. The five-armed shape offers versatility and strength. It is a form that needs no improvement. Today, sea stars continue their ancient journey along the seafloor. They spread across reefs and rocky shores. They move with steady persistence. Their bodies grow and regenerate in response to the world around them. They are reminders of the deep connection between structure and survival. Their presence whispers a truth from the ancient oceans. That life does not always change quickly. Sometimes it finds a shape that is simply enough. As the tide flows over them and retreats again, sea stars hold their place in the story of the ocean. They are living heirs of ancient symmetry, both simple and extraordinary, carrying the memory of a world that began long before ours. On rocky coasts where waves constantly rise and fall, where the tide pools shimmer with trapped pockets of seawater and the air is filled with salt and sound, we can find a creature that has remained almost unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. The sea urchin. It is round like a small globe, covered in spines that stand out like the quills of a quiet guardian. At first glance, it seems simple. It does not swim or glide or crawl with grace. Yet this creature carries a lineage that reaches far into Earth's ancient past. Sea urchins belong to a group that first appeared more than 450 million years ago. Their fossils are scattered across the rocks of ancient seabeds. These fossilized shells, or tests, preserve the circular patterns that define the sea urchin's body. Each fossil holds a piece of the ocean's deep memory. Even the earliest examples look familiar to the sea urchins of today. The symmetry that marks their shape has stayed constant through time. The body of a sea urchin is designed around a five-part symmetry, similar to that of sea stars and other echinoderms. But the sea urchin takes this pattern and wraps it into a sphere. The five sections become a unified shape. This structure works like a living fortress. The spines extend from the surface in all directions. They protect the sea urchin from predators and from the rough movement of waves and currents, yet they are not purely defensive tools. Many sea urchins use their spines to walk across the seafloor or to wedge themselves into cracks in the rock. The surface of the urchin's shell is not solid. It is made of tiny interlocking plates arranged with great precision. This gives the shell strength and flexibility. It can absorb force without breaking. It can hold the body together while allowing the creature to move. Beneath the spines are tube feet, which reach out like soft fingers. These tube feet help the sea urchin move and feed. They grip the stone and let the creature slowly climb over surfaces or across coral. Sea urchins feed in ways that seem almost delicate. Many species use a specialized mouthpart called Aristotle's lantern. It is a near-perfect tool for scraping algae from rocks. The mouth contains 5 hard teeth that move in a circular motion, grinding food into small pieces. This constant grazing can shape entire ecosystems. Where sea urchins feed, they keep algae populations in balance. Where sea urchins disappear, algae can grow unchecked, changing the landscape of the reef. The sea urchin's role in marine ecosystems is quiet but important. It maintains balance. It supports the health of coral reefs by keeping surfaces clear for new growth. It creates small shelters and spaces where other animals can live. Without sea urchins, the rhythm of life beneath the waves would change in profound ways. Some sea urchins live incredibly long lives. There are species that can survive for more than 100 years. They grow slowly and steadily, adding to their shell over time. Their bodies do not age in the same way that ours do. The growth of their cells continues almost without decline. Scientists have studied these long-lived species to understand how aging might be slowed or reshaped. The sea urchin becomes a window into the possibility that life can continue far beyond expected limits. The long lifespan of the sea urchin is not just a biological detail, it reflects the stability of the environments where they live. These creatures settle into tide pools, reefs, and deep water. They stay in the same places for decades. They experience storms and shifting currents, yet they endure. Their tough exterior protects them. Their tube feet hold them firmly in place. Their slow but steady growth responds to the rhythm of the ocean. The presence of sea urchins in the fossil record shows that their basic design has worked across many ages of the Earth. While other animals evolved new forms and functions, the sea urchin remained true to its shape. Its round body and protective spines offered everything it needed to survive. The 5-part symmetry that defines its form is not just a pattern but a blueprint for endurance. There is something timeless about the way sea urchins exist in their world. They do not hurry. They move with unchanging patience, shaped by ancient patterns. They respond to the world around them with steady resilience. They shelter themselves among rocks and coral. They feed on the growth that the sea provides. They weather storms and currents. To hold a sea urchin shell in your hand, even long after the animal is gone, is to hold a piece of the past. The interlocking plates still show the same design that has been present in the ocean for millions of years. The spines, even when broken, reflect the strength of the creature that wore them. The shape remains, a reminder that some forms emerge early in evolution and simply endure. Today, sea urchins continue their ancient patterns. They cling to rocks in tidal zones. They roam across the seafloor of deep oceans. Their bodies show the same 5-part symmetry that first set them apart. They are spiny relics of early oceans, living through ages of change, yet always carrying the signature of the ancient world in their quiet and persistent form. If we step gently into the shallow edges of oceans or wander through the rocky pools left behind by a receding tide, we often see creatures that look like flowers anchored to stone. Their tentacles sway with the movement of the water. Their bodies pulse in slow rhythm. They open and close like living petals. These are sea anemones, animals so peaceful in appearance that their true nature can be overlooked. Yet beneath the soft surface of their bodies lies one of the oldest survival mechanisms in the ocean. Sea anemones belong to a group of animals that evolved hundreds of millions of years ago. Long before dinosaurs left footprints on land, long before the first mammals appeared or the continents settled into familiar shapes, anemones were already anchored to ancient seafloors. Their lineage stretches deep into time, Their bodies may be soft, but the methods they use to feed and defend themselves are older than most of Earth's creatures. Their tentacles are lined with stinging cells called nematocysts. Each cell contains a tiny, coiled thread that can spring outward with astonishing speed. When prey touches the tentacle, the thread fires. It pierces the skin and releases toxins that stun or immobilize the target. The movement is quick and precise. It requires no complex brain or muscles. It is a reflex, perfected over millions of years. These stinging cells have been passed down from ancestors that lived in oceans long before dinosaurs walked the land. It is one of the oldest weapons in nature. Despite their ability to sting, anemones lead quiet lives. They rarely chase prey, they wait. Their tentacles drift outward. Tiny fish and plankton brush against them. The anemone responds, drawing the prey toward its mouth. It feeds on the world that comes to it. This patient strategy has allowed anemones to survive across ages of change. Some anemones live alone, attached to a rock or buried in the sand. Others live in colonies. These colonial anemones connect their bodies together. They divide and multiply, growing into large patches that cover the seafloor like meadows. Each individual is part of a larger community. The colony feeds, reproduces, and defends itself as a single unit. This shared life offers protection from predators and creates stability in habitats that shift with tides and storms. The colonial behavior of anemones reveals a different way of surviving. Instead of competing or moving away from danger, they join together. Each anemone can divide and form identical individuals. These clones spread slowly, building an extended body. If one part is damaged, the others continue the work of feeding and growth. The colony can survive even when the environment becomes harsh. Sea anemones survived multiple mass extinctions. Events that erased entire groups of animals did not remove them. They endured when the oceans changed temperature and chemistry. They survived when sea levels rose and fell. Part of this resilience comes from the simplicity of their design. Their bodies can adapt quickly. They can retract their tentacles and close into a small ball when threatened. They can tolerate variation in temperature and salinity. Their cells can regenerate and repair damage with ease. But there is another reason they endured. Their role in ecosystems is versatile. Some anemones form partnerships with other creatures. Hermit crabs sometimes carry small anemones on their shells. The anemone gains mobility and food scraps from the crab. The crab gains protection from predators. Other anemones form relationships with clownfish. The clownfish finds shelter within the tentacles, safe from larger fish. The anemone benefits from the presence of a protector that cleans parasites and brings food. These partnerships show how anemones find balance in nature. They do not live in isolation. They become part of a network that supports many other forms of life. Their presence helps structure the ecosystem. They provide shelter, food, and stability. Their soft bodies remind us that strength does not always come from armor or size. Their tentacles shimmer in the water, swaying with the tides. They use the ancient tools of survival with elegance. Their stinging cells are older than the dinosaurs, but they are still effective in modern oceans. Their colonial behavior allows them to share the challenges of their environment. They divide, regenerate, and grow. These strategies have allowed them to survive through ages of change. In deep water, where light rarely reaches, there are anemones that grow in large gardens. Their bodies glow faintly in the darkness. They cling to rocks on the ocean floor, feeding on the drifting currents. These deep-sea anemones remind us that life can flourish in the most unlikely places. Even when the world shifts dramatically, some creatures remain. Sea anemones carry with them the memory of ancient oceans. Their bodies are soft, yet they hold a quiet strength. Their tentacles continue to reach through the water. Their colonies grow and change with the passing of time. They are neither fast nor aggressive. They live with patience, shaped by the long history of the sea. They are survivors of deep time, keeping the story of ancient oceans alive in their gentle and enduring form. When we imagine ancient oceans, we often picture reptilian beasts or giant fish with armored scales. Yet long before most sea creatures evolved their familiar forms, the ancestors of modern sharks were already swimming through the water. Their story stretches back more than 420 million years into a time when the seas were filled with strange and unfamiliar life. The earliest sharks did not look exactly like the ones we know today, but their basic design was already present: a streamlined body, powerful fins, a skeleton made not of bone, but of cartilage. Cartilage is lighter and more flexible than bone. It allowed these early sharks to move quickly through the water. It made them agile hunters in oceans where most animals were slow and heavily armored. This lightweight skeleton was an evolutionary advantage. It offered speed and maneuverability in environments where speed was rare. The cartilaginous frame was not just a structure, it was a tool for survival. As the oceans changed over millions of years, sharks changed with them, yet the basic shape remained. Sharks evolved into many forms and sizes. Some were small and slender, others grew into giants. The fossil record shows a massive expansion of shark diversity during the early periods of their history. Scientists call this expansion a radiation, meaning a burst of new species that spread across the oceans. Sharks adapted to every niche they could find. Some hunted in shallow waters, others roamed the open sea, some lived in river mouths or coastal ecosystems. Their bodies changed to fit the different environments. Despite all this variety, the core of their design continued to work. The streamlined shape of a shark allows it to cut through the water with little resistance. The fins provide control and direction, letting the shark turn, rise, or dive. The cartilage skeleton supports quick bursts of speed. Even the skin of the shark is part of this efficient design. It is covered in small, tooth-like structures that reduce drag and help the shark move silently. These adaptations have stayed with sharks for millions of years. The earliest sharks also developed teeth that could be replaced throughout their lives. When one tooth falls out, another grows to take its place. This constant renewal gives sharks the tools they need to feed as long as they live. It ensures that damage does not slow them down or threaten their survival. It is a simple system, yet it has lasted across ages. As sharks spread across the oceans, they became one of the most successful groups of predators on Earth. They occupied roles at the top of the food chain. They helped shape the ecosystems around them. They kept populations of other species in balance. Their presence influenced the evolution of the animals they hunted and the animals that hunted them. Sharks were not just survivors, they were shapers of their world. The fossil record tells us that many ancient shark species have disappeared. Some grew to enormous sizes, like the famous megalodon. Others evolved into specialized forms that no longer exist. But the lineage itself has always continued. New species rise as old ones fade. The dynasty of sharks has never been broken. Their design has proved so adaptable that it has outlasted mass extinctions and shifting environments. Why does this basic shape work so well? Part of the answer lies in the ocean itself. Water is a dense and powerful medium. Movement in water requires efficiency. The shark's body is optimized for living in this environment. Its shape minimizes resistance. Its body supports strength and speed. Its senses detect movement and vibration from great distances. The shark is almost perfectly equipped for life in the sea. There is another reason. Sharks evolved early, when life in the oceans was still taking shape. Their success set a pattern that other animals followed. They showed that speed and maneuverability were valuable. They showed that sharp senses and strong jaws could carve a path through the water. Other groups of animals evolved along similar lines, but the sharks had a head start. Their design worked, and so it remained. Even today, sharks continue to evolve. New species are still being discovered in deep ocean environments. Others adapt to changing conditions in coastal waters. The lineage is ancient, but it is not frozen. It grows and shifts with the world around it. Yet the form of the shark remains familiar. The body that first appeared more than 420 million years ago still moves through the oceans with ease. To see a shark glide through the water is to see a living reminder of Earth's ancient seas. The same basic design has carried these creatures through mass extinctions, climate changes, and countless cycles of life. The ocean has changed again and again. Continents have drifted, new animals have evolved and vanished. But the shark keeps swimming. Its shape is a quiet testament to the power of a simple and enduring idea. As we continue drifting deeper into the ancient family of ocean life, we eventually meet a creature whose story branches away from the shark's lineage. Long before the seas were filled with familiar predators, before the great marine reptiles or the first coral reefs, there was a moment in prehistory when a shared ancestor took two paths. One path would lead to the sharks and rays we already know. The other would lead into shadow. It would become something quieter, more elusive, a creature that wears the mystery of the deep like a cloak. This second branch became the Chimaeras. The split happened more than 400 million years ago, before dinosaurs, before forests. These early ancestors were some of the first cartilaginous fish to appear in ancient oceans. Yet while sharks became masters of speed and strength, the Chimaeras moved in a different direction. They were shaped by quieter waters and deeper shadows. Their evolution carried them downward into the cold and distant places of the sea. Chimaeras are sometimes called ghost sharks. They are not truly sharks, although they share a distant heritage. Their bodies reveal the family resemblance, a long and streamlined shape, smooth skin without scales, a skeleton made of flexible cartilage. But if you look closely, the differences stand out in ways that feel almost dreamlike. The head of a chimera is rounded and broad. The eyes are large and reflective, like polished stones. They shine in the dark waters of the deep. Their mouths sit low, beneath the head, shaped for crushing instead of tearing. The Chimaera feeds not on large prey, but on small animals that cling to the seafloor: crabs, shrimp, shellfish. These meals require strong grinding plates instead of sharp teeth. The Chimaera uses specialized dental plates that never stop growing, so they can endure a lifetime of crushing shells. But perhaps the strangest part of the Chimaera's design is its sensory system. Like sharks and rays, it can sense electrical signals, not just the movement of other creatures, but even the faint signals produced by muscles and nerves. This gives the chimera a kind of invisible sight. It can navigate through darkness without relying on vision. It knows where other animals move and where they hide, even when the water is completely black. The ocean around it becomes a world of invisible currents and vibrations. The Chimaera's skin contains pores that help it sense the changing environment. It can feel the pulse of the sea long before its eyes register any movement. This specialized sensory system is ancient. It appeared early in the evolution of cartilaginous fish. Yet the chimera refined it, turning it into a way of life. It did not need powerful jaws or a streamlined body built for speed. It needed awareness, stillness, an ability to wait and listen. Most chimeras live in deep and cold water. In places where light does not reach, the temperature remains close to freezing. The pressure is immense, yet they glide through these depths with ease. Their bodies are adapted to this silent world. Their fins trail behind them like ribbons. They move slowly and deliberately, conserving energy. A chimera is built for the deep. Their habitat also keeps them hidden from view. For centuries, people believed they were rare or mysterious because they were seldom seen. They live at depths far beyond the reach of sunlight and well beyond what humans can explore without special equipment. Only in recent years have scientists managed to study them closely. Cameras sent to the ocean floor have captured footage of chimeras drifting across the sediment. They glide as if weightless. Their movements are unhurried and elegant. These deep water environments have remained stable for long stretches of Earth's history. They change slowly and quietly. This gives chimeras the same kind of evolutionary shelter that aided other ancient survivors. Stability favors simplicity and patience. The chimera never needed to chase the fast path of evolution. It found a space that stayed almost unchanged for millions of years. Some species of chimaera have strange, elongated tails. Others have ornate patterns across their bodies. Some display ghostly colors that shimmer in the faint glow of deep-sea cameras. Their diversity is subtle but present. Each species carries the mark of ancient ancestry, yet each also holds a unique adaptation that helped it thrive in the depths. Their reproduction is equally adapted to the deep. They lay eggs instead of giving birth to live young. The eggs are encased in protective cases. These cases are strong and coated in fibers that anchor them to the seafloor. The young develop slowly, shielded from predators and currents. When they finally emerge, they are miniature versions of the adults, ready to begin lives that may last for decades. The quiet success of the Chimaera reminds us that evolution is not always about speed or power. Sometimes it favors stillness and patience. The Chimaera did not become one of the ocean's most famous predators. It did not occupy the same role as sharks or whales. It found its home in shadow and cold, in the deep places where time moves slowly. Its lineage has lasted longer than the sharks that share its ancestry, longer than most animals in the ocean today. It is a ghost of ancient seas, a reminder that life does not always follow the same path. It can diverge and change. It can find its own rhythm in the darkest places of the world, far below the calm surface of warm coastal seas. In the forests of corals and shifting sands lives one of the most unlikely hunters on Earth, the mantis shrimp. Its body is no larger than a human hand, yet it carries within it the legacy of ancient arthropods that once crawled across primordial ocean floors. This lineage reaches back hundreds of millions of years to a time when early life was still experimenting with new forms and new ways to survive. The mantis shrimp does not resemble the familiar shrimp or lobster of modern waters. It is something different. Its body is protected by a tough exoskeleton that gleams with the colors of the sea: iridescent greens and blues, soft reds and golds. The patterns shimmer like shifting sunlight filtering through water. But its beauty is not what sets it apart. It is the hunter's strike that makes the mantis shrimp remarkable. Unlike most ocean predators, the mantis shrimp does not rely on teeth or size. Instead, it uses a pair of club-like limbs folded beneath its body. These limbs move with astonishing speed. When it chooses to strike, the limb unfolds and fires forward faster than almost any movement in the animal kingdom. The punch is so fast that it creates a small shock wave in the water. This shock wave is powerful enough to crack the shells of crabs and snails. It stuns prey before the limbs even make contact. Scientists have measured these strikes and found that the acceleration is comparable to the speed of a speeding bullet. In a world shaped by slow currents and patience, the mantis shrimp evolved into a creature of sudden force. Its ancient lineage gave it a body built to strike quickly and efficiently. The limb that delivers the blow is not made of muscle alone. It is shaped with natural hinges and levers that compress and release energy like a spring. This system allows the mantis shrimp to store strength, then release it in an instant. Each punch is a small explosion of movement, yet the mantis shrimp's strength is only part of its evolutionary story. The other part is its vision. The eyes of the mantis shrimp are perched on stalks. They move independently of each other. They scan the world around them in constant motion. Inside these eyes are structures more complex than almost any other visual system found in nature. Where humans see only three primary colors, the mantis shrimp sees far more. Its eyes can detect ultraviolet light and polarized light. They can see patterns and reflections invisible to human eyes. This ability gives the mantis shrimp an extraordinary awareness of its surroundings. It can detect the smallest movement of prey hiding beneath sand. It can recognize the shimmer of another mantis shrimp nearby. Its eyes allow it to navigate the complicated colors and textures of coral reefs, where camouflage is a survival skill. This elaborate visual system did not emerge overnight. It is rooted in a distant past when early arthropods first discovered the power of light sensing. Over vast stretches of time, this simple skill grew into a complex network of structures and cells. The mantis shrimp's vision is a window into ancient origins. It shows how life refined a basic sense into something nearly unmatched. Even the way the mantis shrimp interacts with its environment is unique. It carves burrows into the seafloor. It builds tunnels and chambers using sand and shells. These burrows become both shelter and hunting ground. When prey wanders too close, the mantis shrimp strikes. The tunnel amplifies the effect of surprise. The hunter emerges from the shadows with precision. This lifestyle has guided its evolution for millions of years. The mantis shrimp did not follow the same path as other arthropods that developed large claws or armor. It found strength in speed and precision. It built a body that stores power. It built eyes that see more than almost any other creature. Some species of mantis shrimp have a different kind of weapon. Instead of a club, they have spear-like limbs. These limbs are lined with sharp points. They move just as quickly, piercing prey with deadly accuracy. Whether smashing or spearing, the mantis shrimp uses movement as both defense and offense. Its evolutionary path is a reminder that nature does not always choose the obvious solution. The mantis shrimp did not grow larger to overpower its environment. It refined its body and senses. It found success in the combination of sight and speed. These traits have helped it survive through many ages of the sea. The ancestors of the mantis shrimp lived in oceans that looked nothing like ours. They walked the sea floor when the world was young. They adapted to shifting tides and new predators. They found stability by remaining small and agile. Through mass extinctions and changing climates, the lineage continued. Today, the mantis shrimp carries that history in every movement. Its punch is a message from the ancient ocean. Its eyes are windows from a distant age. It is a hunter shaped by deep time, still thriving in the warm and colorful shallows of the modern sea. The deeper we follow the currents of ancient life, the more the ocean begins to resemble another world. Light thins into blue, then into darkness. The pressure rises, the water grows colder and still. In these far depths, where even vision becomes uncertain, we find a creature that belongs to one of the oldest branches of animal life, the deep-sea tenophore. Tenophores are sometimes called comb jellies, Although they are not true jellyfish, they are older in some ways, tracing their ancestry back toward the dawn of animal evolution. Their bodies reveal patterns that emerged when Earth was still young and life was just learning the first rules of complexity. They float through the darkness like drifting lanterns, though no flame burns inside them. Their bodies glow with soft rainbows of iridescence. The shimmering bands of color trace along rows of tiny cilia that cover their surface. These cilia are the key to the way tenophores move. Unlike most animals that swim using muscles or fins, the tenophore uses rows of microscopic hairs to push against the water. Each cilium beats in perfect rhythm. Together they form a chain of movement that glides along the creature's surface. The motion is gentle and silent. It resembles the slow sweep of wind across grass or the steady pulse of waves on a calm shoreline. The cilia create a current that carries the sea tenophore forward. No frantic effort, no sudden strikes, only the steady drift of a creature built for the deep. The use of cilia for movement is ancient. It represents one of the earliest solutions to the challenge of life in water. The tenophore never abandoned this strategy, even as other animals evolved muscles, skeletons, or limbs. It did not need to. In the slow and quiet world of the deep sea, the steady movement of cilia remains perfectly suited to survival. The ocean of darkness rewards patience and energy conservation. The tenophore floats through its world with the same simple grace that its ancestors did millions of years ago. Yet for all its gentleness in motion, the tenophore is a predator. It hunts in a world without sound or light. It does not need a brain to find its prey. Its nervous system is spread across its body like a net. Signals pass through it in ripples. The tenophore senses changes in the water, the vibration of something moving close, the faint chemical traces of another animal. It responds with precision. Some species carry long, sticky tentacles that extend into the darkness. These tentacles drift silently, almost invisible. When a small crustacean or fish brushes against them, the tentacles adhere. The tenophore pulls the prey toward its mouth. There is no chase. There is only patience and a delicate trap. Other species have bodies shaped like bowls or globes that scoop prey as they drift. The mouths of these tenophores open and close in slow rhythm. This hunting strategy works without the need for a centralized brain. The tenophore's body responds as a whole. Its network of nerves is simple yet effective. It coordinates movement and feeding with a level of elegance that feels almost alien. The deep-sea environment has shaped the tenophore's evolution. Food is scarce, light is absent, predators are few but powerful. To survive here, a creature must conserve energy and use every opportunity carefully. The tenophore's soft body and drifting motion fit this world. Its transparency protects it from being seen. Its glow is not for communication but a byproduct of light refracting through cilia. The deep sea reflects light in unusual ways. Colors shimmer along the sea tenophore's surface, creating soft displays of blue, pink, or green. These patterns seem almost too beautiful to belong to a predator, yet they serve its purpose. The shimmering helps confuse prey. It may also distract potential predators. In the deep sea, even beauty can be a form of survival. The ancient origins of sectenophores remain a subject of scientific curiosity. Some research suggests that they may have branched off before the ancestors of jellyfish or sponges. If this is true, then the tenophore may be one of the first animals to develop organized tissues and nervous systems. It offers a glimpse into what life was like when complex animals first appeared. Its nervous system is simple, yet it coordinates movement and feeding with remarkable ability. Its body shows how complexity can emerge from simplicity. Even today, Deep-sea tenophores continue to reveal new mysteries. Some species are bioluminescent, lighting their bodies with faint blue or white glow. Others drift in clusters that resemble floating gardens. Some grow large, their bodies expanding like transparent sails. Others are tiny and delicate, barely larger than a thumbnail. They show us that life in the deep sea is not shaped by aggression or speed, it is shaped by patience and precision. The ctenophore has no bones or muscles. It does not chase prey or defend territory. It moves with the currents. It listens to the water. It hunts with quiet certainty. In these depths, ancient predators still glide through the dark water, unchanged in their basic design. Their bodies reflect a time when evolution was still discovering what an animal could be. The deep-sea ctenophore carries that legacy forward. It is a drifting reminder of the earliest chapters of life, still alive in the shadowed world beneath the waves. As we have drifted together through these ancient oceans and watched creature after creature rise from the long memory of the sea, a quiet pattern has begun to appear. Not one made of coincidence or luck, but of something deeper, a hidden thread that connects the Greenland shark to the horseshoe crab, the Nautilus to the comb jelly, the Mantis shrimp to the ghost-like Chimaera. So many creatures from different ages and different branches of life, yet they share the strange ability to remain, even when almost everything around them has vanished. Mass extinctions rewrote the world more than once. Catastrophic warming, ice-locked oceans, meteor impacts. There were moments in Earth's deep history when entire ecosystems disappeared. Forests fell, seas drained, reefs crumbled, creatures that once ruled the waters or the land vanished forever. But the ancient species we have met here continued on. Their survival is not a mystery of chance alone. Their endurance reveals four powerful themes written into their bodies and their habitats. The first is the idea of body plans that stayed useful. Over hundreds of millions of years, these survivors did not need constant reinvention. Their structures were already efficient. The Nautilus did not need new limbs or a new shell. Its chambered home still floated perfectly. The sea urchin stayed round and spined, still able to defend itself and graze on the seafloor. Sharks continued to refine their shape without changing its core. The basic idea of their body worked so well that dramatic transformation offered no advantage. In a world filled with complexity and competition, simplicity became a shield. This is the quiet truth of evolution. Animals do not always change because they must. Sometimes they endure because they do not need to. Their forms remain steady while the world around them trembles and reshapes. When other creatures fell under the weight of change, these ancient designs stayed strong. The second theme is the stability of their habitats. Many of these species lived in the same environments for countless generations. The deep sea is a world that changes slowly. Its temperature remains steady across geological ages. Light never touches its floors. The pressure is constant. This stability creates a refuge where new predators rarely emerge and food resources remain consistent. Greenland sharks glide through the cold Arctic waters where ice and salt preserve the conditions of ancient oceans. Ctenophores drift in deep water where the rhythms of the sea shift only slightly across millennia. Even coastal creatures found pockets of calm, tide pools, burrows, coral forests. These stable spaces allowed species to escape the unpredictable violence of the surface world. While other creatures battled through competition and climate change, ancient survivors rested in habitats that held steady through time. The third theme is metabolism and energy. To live in extreme environments, many of these animals evolved ways to conserve energy. Greenland sharks slow their heartbeats and stretch their lifespans across centuries. Giant isopods drift across the seafloor and feed only when they must. They survive long periods with little to eat. Jellyfish pulse through the water with simple bodies that require almost no energy at all. Hagfish feed on dead prey and recycle the nutrients of the deep. These strategies create a kind of balance. Survival does not depend on constant movement or constant hunger. It depends on patience. The ocean rewards those who conserve what they have. These metabolic choices also offer protection from rapid environmental changes. Creatures that need little food survive when prey disappears. Creatures that move slowly survive when conditions shift. They continue across time because they are not tied to the quick pace of evolution. The fourth theme is avoiding competition. In the ancient seas, predators rose and fell. Reefs formed and collapsed. Ecosystems reorganized themselves. Many species became locked in battles for limited resources. But the survivors we have met often found strategies that kept them away from these struggles. Some lived in depths where predators could not follow. Others fed on food sources that did not attract dangerous rivals. Horseshoe crabs sifted through mud for meals others overlooked. The vampire squid drifted through oxygen-poor waters that most animals avoided. By staying where competition was rare, they removed themselves from the cycles that destroyed other species. This does not mean these animals were passive. They adapted. They learned to use niches that others ignored. Some of them developed tools that required little change across time. Their survival was active, shaped by habits that allowed them to thrive without constant conflict. Through all these patterns runs a deeper idea. The creatures that survived did not compete to dominate. They found ways to exist in harmony with the slow pulse of the ocean. Life rewarded not only strength, but steadiness, not only speed, but patience. The deep sea kept its memories close, and these ancient forms listened. When other animals vanished in the storms of time, these ancient lineages remained. Their bodies carried forward ideas from Earth's earliest ages. Their habitats sheltered them. Their metabolism slowed and stretched across centuries. They stayed just outside the sharp edges of competition. And through all these ages, they continued to drift, crawl, glide, and hunt in quiet corners of the sea. The world above changed again and again. Continents shifted, climates rose and fell. Entire kingdoms of life came and went. Yet these ancient creatures, shaped by endurance rather than dominance, held fast and remained. As our journey has unfolded, we have met creatures that carry age itself in their bones, their shells, and their blood. Quiet sharks beneath polar ice, soft bodies that glow in the darkness. Drifting and crawling relics from oceans that existed before the land held forests or the skies held wings. Each one stands as a reminder that the world we see today is only a single moment in a very long story. Their continued presence offers more than survival. It offers a message about where we came from and how the planet has been shaped across deep time. These ancient survivors reveal clues about the oceans of long ago, the world that existed before the continents drifted apart, before rivers carved their paths and coral reefs began to glow with color. Looking at a horseshoe crab or a nautilus is like looking through a window into vanished seas. Their bodies carry the patterns of early water. Their movement reflects the conditions that were present when life first emerged from simplicity into complexity. The oldest sharks remind us that the ocean once belonged to creatures that moved without bones and fed without teeth. Chimaeras help show us what the earliest vertebrates may have looked like before powerful predators ruled the open sea. Sea sponges whisper of ancient waters that were rich in oxygen for the first time. Even microscopic cilia on the bodies of comb jellies hint at how some of the earliest animals navigated the water. Each species is a fragment of history placed gently in the present. These creatures show us that early oceans were not empty or primitive. They were experiments in form and function. The earliest seas were full of life that was already solving the problem of survival in countless ways. They reveal that life did not evolve in a straight line. It branched, diversified, and circled back. It expanded into quiet corners and extreme depths. Some lineages vanished, but others held on. They stayed with the original blueprints because those blueprints continued to work. Their stories also show how climate shaped early evolution. The Earth has moved through long cycles of warmth and cold. There were moments when the oceans were nearly still and clear. There were moments when ice sealed the surface for thousands of years. The creatures that survived these changes did so by finding places of stability. The deep sea remained cold and constant, while storms raged above. Tide pools kept their rhythm, while continents shifted. These animals survived not because the world stayed the same, but because they found places where the world changed slowly. Their bodies tell us that climate is not just a setting, it is a force that shapes evolution. When the ocean warmed, new species appeared. When it cooled, lineages retreated to safer depths. When oxygen grew abundant, animals discovered new energy. They evolved more complex systems, senses, muscles, skeletons. When oxygen fell, other species adapted by slowing down and conserving energy. Life was always listening to the climate, always finding a way to continue. Even the softest creatures show this truth. The jellyfish that pulse through modern oceans are descendants of ancestors that lived in waters rich with life 500 million years ago. They survived shifting climates by using strategies that required little energy. The Greenland shark survived ice ages by drifting into deeper waters. The isopod survived the changes of ancient continental drift by flattening itself against the seafloor and waiting. The sea did not remain gentle, yet these animals found gentle ways to move through it. Perhaps the greatest lesson of these ancient survivors is about resilience. Resilience is not always about strength. It is not always about speed or dominance. It is about adapting to change in ways that do not require constant struggle. The creatures we have met did not fight the ocean. They listened to it. They followed the rhythm of tides and currents. Some became patient hunters. Some became drifters. Some became builders of shells or spines or tentacles. They did not insist on controlling their world. They found a place within it. This resilience teaches us that survival can be simple. A body plan that stays the same for millions of years is not stagnant, it is successful. A creature that uses little energy can thrive when resources disappear. A species that avoids competition lives outside the storms that topple others. Ancient survivors are the memory of the earth. They show us what the planet once was and what it can endure. They tell us that life is not fragile at its roots, but flexible. It can stretch across time and persist through catastrophe. These living fossils remind us that the world has always changed. It has always moved through cycles of creation and loss, yet life continues. To look at these ancient creatures is to see something more than age. It is to see the path that life has taken from the beginning, to see how the ocean has guided evolution and how the earth has carried its stories forward. They are small pieces of a long conversation between the planet and the life it holds. They show that resilience is not loud. It is quiet. It takes the shape of patience and presence. It moves through time like the tide. Even after following the oldest living lineages into cold Arctic waters, wandering through shifting coral shallows, and drifting into the deepest and darkest realms of the sea, there is a truth we have only touched at the edge. More than four-fifths of the ocean remains unseen and unmapped. It stretches far beyond camera lights and research vessels. It holds landscapes more alien than anything on land. Trench floors deeper than mountains are tall, plains that have never felt the echo of footsteps or sunlight. The ocean is not simply vast, it is hidden. Our exploration has been limited by darkness, pressure, and distance. Much of the deep sea is impossible to reach without technology that was only invented within living memory. Even now, our tools can hover in a single canyon or lower into a narrow trench, but the spaces between remain untouched. It is easy to imagine that the ocean floor is a single smooth plane. In reality, it rises and falls in great slopes and valleys. It holds volcanoes and ridges, ancient river channels, and towering mineral chimneys. These landscapes hold life that thrives without light or warmth. Because we have explored only a small part of the ocean, we still do not know how many creatures live there. Every year, new species are found in places where life was once thought impossible. Entire ecosystems are discovered in the glow of hydrothermal vents, where boiling water mixes with near-freezing currents. Here, giant tube worms and strange crustaceans live in chemical-rich plumes. These animals do not feed on sunlight or plants. They feed on the energy of the earth itself. Such discoveries remind us how little we truly understand. If 90% of the world's largest habitat remains in shadow, then the chance of ancient lineages hiding there is not just possible, it is likely. There may be animals that have survived since before the continents formed the shapes we know. There may be survivors of extinction events we have never studied. Deep sea habitats have stayed stable for millions of years. When disaster struck the surface world, the depths remained quiet. These sheltered spaces could hold species that were never touched by the storms above. The possibility of hidden lineages makes scientists rethink the story of evolution again and again. When the coelacanth was found alive after being declared extinct for millions of years, it changed our ideas about what survival means. It forced us to ask how many other creatures might still be living in the quiet corners of the sea. When deep-sea cameras captured the movements of giant squid, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. What we imagined as myth became real. The ocean has always kept secrets. It still does. One reason new discoveries shift our understanding of ancient life is that every species adds a new branch to the tree of life. When we find a creature that does not fit the patterns we expect, it changes the path we thought evolution took. A jellyfish with a unique nervous system, a shrimp with a punch that creates shock waves, a fish with ancient cartilage that never evolved into bone. Every one of these creatures forces us to rewrite the story of how life began and how it continued. The deep ocean reminds us that timelines are not fixed. They stretch and bend. The moment we find a species that should have vanished millions of years ago, the past becomes longer. The discovery of one ancient animal can extend the history of an entire lineage. It can reveal that what we believed was an ending was actually a pause. The limits of exploration also make the ocean a place of humility. We cannot see everything. We cannot measure every current or identify every life form. Instead, we approach the ocean like we approach the night sky, with curiosity, with patience. The sea asks us to imagine what could exist beyond our instruments and our knowledge. There may be creatures that glow softly in the deepest trenches. There may be predators that drift through the cold with ancient eyes. There may be lineages older than anything we have ever studied. There may be gentle giants that glide through waters so dark that no human has ever witnessed their passing. The ocean continues to change the way we see time itself. The discovery of one new species often pushes the origins of its group deeper into history. When we find something hidden, we realize that the story was always longer than we believed. The more we learn, the more ancient the world becomes. The unexplored part of the ocean is not just a blank space on a map. It is a reminder that the Earth is larger and older than our understanding. It tells us that there are still questions waiting in the quiet darkness. And as long as the ocean keeps its secrets, the story of ancient life will never be finished. We have wandered through oceans that existed before mountains were shaped by wind and rain. We have stood beside creatures whose bodies were formed before the first forests ever rose from the land. We have watched ancient lineages drift through the water, unchanged by time or disaster. As we reach the quiet end of our journey, the ocean feels different than when we began. It is no longer an empty space of waves and tides. It is a living archive of the world that came before us. Every creature we met carried a memory older than continents. The sea turtle that swims across entire oceans with a map written into its cells. The jellyfish that flows with the currents, just as it did when the world was only a few million years young. The Coelacanth resting in volcanic caves. The sharks that glide with the same simple design that once ruled primeval seas. Together, they show a truth that feels almost impossible. The Earth's past is not gone. It is alive, beside us, moving and breathing and growing. Living things do not always need to change to survive. Sometimes the conditions of the world stay familiar enough for a body plan to work through time. Sometimes slow metabolism becomes the key to lasting longer than any empire or species that rises and falls. Sometimes life finds a path that never needed to bend. When we look at these survivors, we see that Earth has been patient. It has shaped life over billions of years. It has allowed ancient creatures to continue into the present. The ocean is not a place outside our reach. It is part of the same planet that holds our cities, our forests, and our daily lives. When we share this world with creatures that carry the memory of deep time, we are reminded that we are not just visitors on Earth. We are participants in its long story. The ancient animals of the ocean have lived through every shift of climate and every movement of the continents. They have seen extinction and survival. They have outlasted everything we could call history. This story is still being written. With every dive into unexplored water and every new creature discovered in the depths, the timeline grows longer. We learn that evolution did not end with the first animals or the first plants. It continues in the dark and the cold and the quiet. There are still secrets waiting in the deep. There are still lineages we have never seen. As long as the ocean remains unexplored, there will always be more to discover. There is a gentle lesson in the survival of ancient creatures. Life is patient. The planet changes slowly, yet with certainty. Ocean currents move across the world as they have done for ages. Species drift through time without losing their place in the great web of nature. We are part of that web. The survivors of the ancient seas remind us that time is not something we stand outside of. It is something we move within. For those listening tonight, thank you for walking alongside this quiet exploration. Thank you for being curious about the life that has shared this planet since its earliest days. These stories matter because they show us how connected we are to everything that came before us. They remind us that we live in a world shaped by patient change. They remind us that resilience is sometimes gentle. That adaptation does not always mean transformation. Sometimes it means staying the same in a changing world. If you enjoyed drifting through this ancient ocean together, And if you wish to join again for another journey into Earth's deep past, it would mean a lot if you leave a like or subscribe to this calm little corner of science. It helps the story continue. It brings others into this peaceful space where curiosity and knowledge share the same quiet breath. For now, let this story settle. Let it rest with you as the world outside grows still. There will always be more mysteries waiting in the dark water. There will always be creatures older than memory swimming through the deep. We will return to them another night. So now take a deep breath, let your shoulders loosen, and rest with a gentle curiosity for the next journey to come.